Yo, what's up guys? So today we are gonna see, what if, Naruto time travel with Kushina, Naruto x Kushina, part 2, hope you'll enjoy this video. So before we start, go check out the author of this fanfic, ShadowFoxEndever, link is in the description, and also subscribe to my channel, and like this video. It's a perfect morning, not a cloud in sight. Naruto thought giddy as he walked the main street of Konoha. He had prepared the whole test the night before for his team. He sent a clone to each of their houses about an hour ago, saying to meet him at the Forest of Death, which was training ground 44. The clone he sent to Nawaki's house was dispelled by a punch from Tsune, and a threat that if he did the same damage he had done a second time, she would make sure he would go through 3 times the amount of pain. The Forest of Death is the perfect place for this kind of test. They will have to dodge my traps, while staying away from the deadly animals throughout the forest, Naruto thought. He was going to be an hour late though to show up because first he needed to pick up a couple headset radios, so he could talk with his team, or they could spread out in the forest to cover more ground. Once he had gotten the radios, still about 40 minutes remained before he had to meet his team, so he decided to go train. Team 5 sat in the clearing before the Forest of Death waiting for Naruto. Where is he? If he doesn't get here soon I am going to kick his ass. Nawaki shouted, jumping up to his feet. He wanted to get the test started after already passing it so he could go to the party his sister had set up for him. Kushina and Shisui were both invited, their sensei was too, but he still had not shown up yet, so he could tell him. Calm down Nawaki, he will be here when he has everything he needs. We only just got back yesterday, so he probably needs supplies for this test, Shisui said calmly. Shisui sat in a meditative pose in the grass with his eyes locked on Nawaki who was pacing back and forth. Damn it stops, it's annoying, Kushina told Nawaki. The pacing was driving her nuts. She was trying to think of ways to get their sensei back, but she couldn't with Nawaki bothering her. Mind your own business, Nawaki shouted. He turned in her direction, getting met with a fist into his gut, doubling him over before a kick to the face sent him into one of the many gates of the Forest of Death. Nawaki did not get up right away, but Kushina did not care. All she did was sit back down to think once again. No matter how strong our sensei is, I will get him back at least once. Kushina thought of crossing her arms. She knew it had to be something he would not expect or it would not work, but that was the thing, what would he not expect to come from her? None of Team 5 sensed Naruto, who was perched in a high tree above the gate Nawaki had collided with. He looked down chuckling at his team. They really do like fighting, it might become a problem in the long run, but I will deal with it later when I feel that it gets out of control. I better go meet them or they may attack me, Naruto thought as he landed next to Nawaki who was slowly lifting himself up. He jumped from the sudden appearance of his sensei, making his head collide with the metal gate, giving him a nice bump. What the hell, tell us when you're going to appear out of nowhere, Nawaki shouted, rubbing the back of his head from the pain. Kushina shot up out of her sitting position at Naruto, his eyes widened, not believing that she actually was trying to hit him. He noticed Shisui slowly got up from his meditative position with a sigh. This isn't going to work, Kushina-chan, Naruto said, catching her fist in his hand. Kushina swung her other arm around trying to get him, but it was quickly deflected as well. She jumped back, giving herself some room to think about how she was going to attack. She didn't get the time however as Naruto appeared behind her, pinning her arms behind her back. He leaned forward to her ear, breathing heavily in it to tease her. Kushina's face became crimson from the contact. Now Kushina, the test has not started yet, so calm down, and maybe I will give you something special, Naruto said. Kushina's face got even darker after the comment. She began to feel dizzy, not knowing why. You're so fun to mess with, Naruto whispering in her ear. He released her as he walked to the gate Nawaki had been at, but he now stood near Kushina and Shisui. He could hear that Kushina was grumbling, while Nawaki sported a big old grin as he looked at her. Stupid sensei, why do I always feel weird when he is near me like that? He is the only one that I get the feeling from when he is close to me, Kushina thought. She quickly pushed those thoughts out of her head, as their sensei began to speak, or he would have if Nawaki did not interrupt him. Hey Kushina, did you think sensei was going to give you a kiss? Nawaki said. He began imitating what a kiss looked like, but before long his face met the ground. Curiosity of Kushina's fist to the top of his head. Shut up you idiot, I do not want anything from him, and I especially don't want a kiss from him, Kushina shouted. Her face was covered in a blush. It looked like she was mad, but probably was from embarrassment. She continued to stomp on his back, taking the cries of pain from Nawaki, as a sign that she was doing her job right. Naruto knew he had to stop this before Nawaki got hurt. He could not let any of them injure each other before his test. I could give you a kiss if you want, Naruto said in a serious tone, trying to hide the laughter he held in. He could not wait for her reaction to come from what he just announced. Out of the corner of his eye he caught Shisui looking calm as ever. He must have known what he was trying to do. Well, what? But Kushina stopped stomping on Nawaki as she turned to look at Naruto. Her face was dark red just like her hair, with no signs of turning back anytime soon. She could not believe that he just said that because she did not know how to respond to it. She was not expecting him to come right out and ask her. A couple moments later though, the blush faded from her face as it was replaced by a scowl. You're messing with me, aren't you? Kushina growled out as a grin appeared on Naruto's face. Yep, but enough of the teasing, here Naruto said as he pulled out 3 headsets for them to use. Naoki had gotten back on his feet when Naruto had caught Kushina's attention. Naoki, Kushina and Shisui caught the headsets as they were thrown to them. They were confused but they strapped them on anyway. What are these for, sensei? Shisui asked. Naoki had been about to ask, but did not get the chance to. Those headsets are so I can communicate with you guys in the forest behind me. You can also use them to communicate with each other. Your goal for this test is to find me without setting off any of the traps in the forest. If you set off a trap, I can change my hiding position every time you activate a trap, meaning the test will get longer. Your second goal will be once you find me, you have to fight me for about a minute. Not very long, I know, but the point of this test is detection, Naruto explained. All of Team 5 nodded their heads as they walked up to the gate that Naruto was standing next to. Good luck. I hope you like my traps, Naruto said, grinning. He was about to dispel, but Naoki stopped him a moment before he could. Wait, sensei, after this test is over my sister wanted me to invite my team to my party. Kushina and Shisui are already going to be there, so would you come? Naoki asked. Sure, why not, as long as Tsunade doesn't try to kill me, Naruto said. Naoki nodded his head as Naruto went up in a plume of smoke, indicating he had been a shadow clone the whole time. I guess we can begin, Kushina said. He never told them when to begin, but it did not really matter. They jumped into the forest a second later. I think we should split up because we can cover more ground easier, and if we find sensei, tell the other 2 through the radio, Shisui said. Kushina and Naoki nodded as they split up. Shisui went straight ahead as Kushina went left and Naoki went right. They were being very observant as they went because they did not want to hit any of sensei's traps. Naoki had too much on his mind though, because when he jumped to the next branch, a tripwire sprung, breaking in 2, making his eyes widen. Shit already, Naoki shouted. Multiple kunai came at him from all angles, so he did the only thing that came to mind, dropping to the forest floor, but that must have been precisely what Naruto thought the person would have done, as a big pit opened up covered in explosive tags. He was about to fall in the pit, but he caught the side of it as his body hung down into the pit. As he climbed out, he thought he was in the clear, though luck was not on his side, when one of the kunai that were launched from the previous traps fell into the pit, igniting the explosive tags. Naoki's eyes widened as he stumbled away from the pit as fast as he could. A second later, the area was lit with a white light, as several trees were uprooted and launched in multiple directions. Naoki had gotten out of the main blast radius, but was still hit with the force of it, flinging him about 10 feet away from the pit, face planted into the side of a tree. I have to worry more about sensei's tests than dying in the field against the enemy, Naoki groaned. He fell onto his back trying to catch his breath. It had hardly been 5 minutes, and a trap almost killed him already. Unknown to Naoki, a Naruto clone sat up in a tree a little ways away watching everything that he did. He wasn't the only one being watched, Shisui and Kushina were being watched too. The reasons the clones were watching them was to make sure none of them died, and to provide another challenge before they reached the real Naruto. I can't stop now, I got to find sensei, Naoki shouted. He quickly got up, darting in the direction he had been earlier, before the trap had been set off. He was paying more attention now to his surroundings, managing to disable a couple traps without setting any off. Shisui was doing even better than Naoki was because he had set no traps off yet, but disabled around 8 traps already. Sensei sure filled this forest with traps, one wrong move and I am dead. I don't think he would let it come to that though, Shisui thought. He missed the next branch, having to opt for the next one or land on the forest floor. He landed on the next branch, missing the see-through tripwire he sprung, but he was more concerned by the giant spider that now hung down in front of him. Pulling out several kunai, launching them at the spider, hitting it in 2 of its eyes, as the others were deflected by its leg. This thing is not like a normal spider, Shisui thought, trying to come up with a plan, but a plan was given to him as fireballs came at him from above and from all sides. Shisui jumped to the side quickly, using another tree as cover. He knew that his body would have burns when this was over, but he would be fine enough to continue. 2 of the fireballs slammed into the spider, burning it to crisp as it dropped down to the forest floor dead before it even made contact. The rest of the fireballs hit the trees in the area, as the fire spread like wildfire through the area. The flames came around the tree Shisui was hiding behind, starting to burn the sleeves of his shirt, but before the fire could reach his shirt completely, the fire was extinguished by water that came out of 4 activated seals on a couple trees. Thank you, Sensei, Shisui. He was very grateful that Naruto had set up countermeasures just in case his traps had gotten out of control. He stepped back near the spot he had stood before, noticing the now dead spider below, or what was left of it. I'm lucky I wasn't hit. I would look like that spider right now, Shisui said. He inspected the area, seeing nothing he could use, continued his trek through the forest, being even more careful of his surroundings now. He missed the seals that were set off from the water. He jumped in mid-air to land on the next branch, but before he could reach it, a force slammed into him, sending his body smack down into the forest floor, which did not feel very good, possibly 2 broken ribs from the impact, maybe more. Crap, I wasn't expecting that. What happened? Shisui groaned. He could not get up. It felt like a couple tons were placed on his back, making him unable to move at all. He was only able to lift his head enough for him to get a glance at the area. What he saw were seals on almost every tree, barely visible even to the most Hulk-like eyes. How are we supposed to find him and complete this test if his traps are almost undetectable? At least I am the only one trapped here. It was a good idea to split up after all, Shisui thought. He was in a lot of pain, but he would bear it. It was a good thing he landed in high grass even though he still hit the ground. It was a softer landing than if he collided with complete dirt ground. Those seals activated at the worst possible Timmy, a Naruto clone thought, sighing as it smacked its forehead. He was going to get yelled at from Tsunade, especially since Shisui was going to be at the party later. I better go release him so he can at least get up and not get eaten by the wildlife in the arid, clone thought. It jumped down to the forest floor, putting a hand on the base of a tree. A second later, all the seals grew dim in the area before completely going out as the weight was lifted. Shisui noticed the change of weight immediately, as he slowly got up into a sitting position holding his side as pain shot up at him. He knew he could not continue anymore by the state he was in, but he had to, so he was about to call one of his teammates for help, but a hand landed on his shoulder, before he could ask for anything. You did enough, you passed, the clone said. Shisui turned his head slightly towards him to get a better look at his sensei. Kushina and Nawaki, Shisui asked. Don't worry about them, you know how to detect traps really well, so you pass, but they have not yet. You are going to the hospital now to get treated, but don't worry, I will pick you up for Nawaki's party later, Naruto said. What he said was true. Shisui had great detection capabilities, probably because of him being in, but who knows. His best traps were laid out further into bad. Shisui got hurt too much to continue on. Shisui nodded in understanding, even knowing himself that continuing would be impossible. Shouldn't you make a clone to take me though? I mean, you can't just leave them here with all of your traps alone. Unless you are a clone, Shisui said. Naruto nodded to the last part, hoisting Shisui onto his back, disappearing without a trace a moment later. I don't even know where I am going, Kushina grumbled. She had turned back when she heard a muffled yell come from the radio that sounded like Shisui. She needed to make sure he was okay. She stopped on the next branch, disabling the trigger for a trap that was set on the branch before moving on. The forest was like a maze but without a direction. It was too dense to really see much any which way. Her thoughts were cut off as she landed on the next branch headlong into Nawaki, as they both tumbled to the ground in a heap. They both groaned as they entangled each other. Watch where you're going, Kushina, you could have killed us both. Why are you going this direction anyway? Didn't you go left? Nawaki said, a little angry at being knocked out of a tree. Shut up, I came back this way when I heard Shisui yell over the radio, Kushina said, punching Nawaki in the arm. Nawaki opted to shut up because they were both here for the same reason, to help Shisui out of whatever trouble he had gotten into. He began looking all over the area they were in, feeling a chakra build up around them. Kushina felt it too as she looked all over as well. They could not see anything though. I guess it's time for the next phase of the test, Naruto thought, as he appeared from behind a tree near Nawaki and Kushina, making them take a couple steps back. I thought we had to come find you. Why are you here? Kushina asked. They knew something was up when a grin appeared on his face, making them gulp. The test has changed slightly since I took Shisui captive, Naruto replied by pulling Shisui from behind the tree he had stepped out from. His hands were tied, as were his legs. There were no noticeable injuries anywhere on him. They must have hurt Shisui earlier if they came this way, so this clone here will be their test. If they take the bait, they fail, but if they don't, then there is one more part of the test left, which is going to be my favorite, Naruto thought, chuckling. He was definitely enjoying himself toying with fresh genin. Why are you holding him hostage? I thought this was supposed to be a trap detection test, Kushina said. It is, but I decided to add another part to the test. This will show me if you're ready for actual battles in war, because you have to fight while watching your surroundings for any danger. So come and try to take him back, Naruto said from his position beside Shisui. Nawaki threw multiple kunai at Naruto, following it up with a couple shuriken directly behind the kunai. Shino Tensei, Naruto said as the kunai and shuriken were inches from him, flinging back towards Nawaki. Lucky for him that he knew something like that would have happened, so he was able to move out of the way in time. Naruto quickly turned his attention back to Kushina as a chain rushed at him from the ground. Crap, I forgot that she could do that. Naruto thought, jumping back a good distance away gave enough time for Nawaki to grab the clone that looked like Shisui, jumping back to land next to Kushina. When did you learn that? Naruto asked. He was shocked because he did not think Kushina would know that at such a young age already. I figured out how to do it on that mission we were on. I still don't know how I can do it, but I can still use it against you, Kushina said, grinning. Around 5 chains shot forward at Naruto, making him deflect one of them, as he charged at them to show that she still needed practice with the move. The 4 remaining chains tried to wrap around him, but he just vanished as he appeared behind Kushina, kicking her in the back, sending her towards a tree, but she never hit a tree, as Nawaki appeared in the path, catching her before impact. He placed her back onto her feet, getting ready for another round with their sensei. Shisui leaned up against the tree behind them. Kushina, are you okay? Can you still fight? Naoki asked. He could tell that she was winded and tired being hit around like that. She wasn't a person to give up though, so she got back into her fighting stance. I'm good just to protect Shisui so sensei cannot get anywhere near him, Kushina said. She glanced at Naoki, catching the nod he sent her way. Naoki looked back towards the downed form of Shisui, realizing something. That yell over the radio sounded like Shisui was in pain, but here he looks to be perfectly fine, Naoki thought. His eyes widened, realizing that it was one of his clones that would probably explode. He launched forward, grabbing Shisui by his shirt, tossing him quite the distance away, so Naruto could not use it against them. Kushina looked on in shock and dumbfounded that Naoki had just tossed their teammate across the clearing, while Naruto grinned in approval, finally making some progress with them. Why did you do that? Kushina said angrily. I did it because it was a clone made by our sensei to explode. Remember what he did against us during the Genin test? I believe he was trying to do the same thing again to see if we learned anything, Naoki explained. Kushina finally understood, so she turned back to Naruto thinking the test was finally over. Is the test over now since you can't pull one over on us now? Kushina said, taunting him. Naruto just stood perfectly still, with the grin still plastered on his face. Nope, you first have to find a way out of this situation, Naruto said. A horde of clones popped out of nowhere surrounding Kushina and Naoki on all ends. They started going through hand signs as the gravity began to increase around them, pushing their bodies harder into the ground by the second. They were still standing, but not for long, because their legs were starting to give out, so they needed to come up with a plan and fast. What should we do? Naoki said, hoping Kushina had a plan to get out of this mess they were in. Kushina began to think after a couple seconds, finally coming up with a good enough plan that might work. 10 chains shot out, wrapping around 10 clones before the chains launched them into the others, giving them a hole to escape through, but they had to hurry as the clones started glowing white. Just as they made it a couple feet away, the area exploded outwards, taking out trees and even some of the ground, by the amount of clones that had gone off. When Naruto noticed how big the explosion was going to be, launched himself in front of his team, slapping his hands on the ground, making a rock wall rise up out of the ground, blocking the explosion. Thanks, Sensei, Naoki said, falling on his ass, huffing from exhaustion. Kushina was mad, but she saw how he protected them from his, knowing that it was a little too much for them to handle, so she decided to forgive him for now. Naruto lowered the rock wall once the explosion had ceased. The amount of damage done to the surrounding trees and ground probably will never be fixed completely, because right now it looked like a small wasteland. I don't think I should have made so many exploding clones, Naruto said, sweat dropping, not really knowing that it would cause this much damage to the area. You went way too far, Sensei, but where's the real Shisui anyway? Naoki asked from his position on the ground. Oh, he is in the hospital because he broke a couple of ribs falling mid-jump into the ground, Naruto said, rubbing the back of his head. Kushina asked how he fell mid-jump. She was curious because most people did not just fall for no reason, so Sensei must have done something. Naruto saw the accusing look Kushina shot his way. Hey, it wasn't completely my fault. He stumbled in the range of my gravity seal that I placed up over an area extending the flux and gravity. The seals had activated when he was in mid-air, making him land hard on the ground, not able to get up, Naruto explained. He saw them sigh. They probably wished they had a different sensei at the moment. You crazy, Sensei, Naoki says, standing up. At least you guys didn't get hurt as bad, and you did learn something. You knew Shisui was a clone, and you guys were able to detect my traps after a bit of work, so my training helped, Naruto replied. Team 5 began their walk out of the forest. You could teach us a little differently maybe, so we don't end up hurting every training session, Kushina said. She felt so sore, and it was only about 5 in the afternoon, so she still was going to go to Naoki's party. It doesn't matter, at least it is over with for now. I got to go home to start the party with my sister. You coming, Sensei? Naoki asked. Naruto told them he would go to the party later after he picked up Shisui from the hospital first. He vanished without a trace a moment later, leaving Naoki and Kushina to leave the forest by themselves. Naruto quickly went to pick up the present from his place he had been saving to give to Naoki on this day. After he got the wrapped present from his place, he went to the hospital picking up Shisui for the party. Next time, no gravity seals, Sensei, Shisui said as they approached Naoki and Tsunade's house. I wasn't planning on using them anymore in training sessions anyway because they are unpredictable, Naruto explained to Shisui, knocking on the door. The door opened, revealing Tsunade standing there. She noticed Shisui was leaning on Naruto for support. Did you hurt him in one of your training sessions again? Tsunade said, growling. No, I didn't. One of my seals that were laid out went off at the wrong time, sending him into the ground hard. So I decided I am not using them anymore when training them, because it is too dangerous, Naruto said, putting a hand on Shisui's shoulder, about to lead him in. He didn't get the chance as the door flung open more, revealing Jiraiya, who looked to be a bit tipsy already. The party just started, said a drunk Jiraiya, leading both Naruto and Shisui into the house, as Tsunade closed the door behind them. Jiraiya led them to the living room where he noticed Kushina and Naoki were hanging around Jiraiya's team talking about random things. Minato was sitting awfully close to Kushina, but her sight was set on Naruto, who just walked in the door with Shisui. She and Nawaki bolted off the coach, running to Shisui to check him over. After an hour of talking, it began to get late, so they ate dinner. Having dinner with Tsunade and Jiraiya was one thing he never really got to do in his time. He made sure to enjoy every minute of it. I'm going to change things and make them better, no matter what Naruto thought as he looked around the dinner table at all the faces. Kushina was sitting next to him on his right while Shisui sat to his left. They began discussing the training he had his team go through, as did Jiraiya, before they began to eat cake. Once the cake was gone, they each handed Nawaki a present for his birthday. He was sitting on the couch as he opened each and every present, very excited by all the things he got. What caught his eye though was the wrapped present Naruto presented him a moment later. "This is a special gift from me," Nawaki, Naruto said as Nawaki began to tear the paper off. Once the paper was off, he opened the box, revealing a katana with a white hilt and a blackened blade. "Thank you, Sensei," Nawaki said, memorized by the sword, not expecting to get a present like this. "Nice sword, looks very expensive," Jiraiya commented while studying the sword's design as he stood next to Naruto. Naruto turned his head to take a glance at him. "It wasn't too expensive, but I wanted to give him something nice for the training I had them go through," Naruto said. He liked training them because it gave him something to do. "What about us, Sensei?" Kushina asked. They all went through the same training sessions that Nawaki had. "You will get something on your birthdays just like Nawaki has, but it wouldn't be the same thing," Naruto explained, not wanting to say any more about their gifts, for when the time came they would receive their gifts. He noticed out of the corner of his eye how Minato was staring at Kushina. "You should tell us the story of how you took down that army of ninja before they could reach Whirlpool," Jiraiya said, putting a hand on his shoulder. "Nah, I don't think it is such a good idea," Naruto replied. He caved in though when Kushina and the rest of the room said they wanted to hear it too. So he sat down next to Nawaki, beginning to tell them about the battle, leaving out the Rinnegan abilities, putting other things in their place, but the short time to change it was caught by a couple people in the room, mainly Tsunade, Jiraiya, Kushina and Minato, kind of felt something was wrong with the story. After he was done telling his story, he looked around the room at all the shocked faces. They could not believe how easily he had taken down an army. Kushina had sat down next to him about halfway through the story, but now she was leaning on him out cold. A shadow clone quickly materialized in the room, picking up Kushina, taking her home for the night. Jiraiya began his tales of adventure, explaining some of his many battles against ninja to that date. His stories lasted quite a while, but everyone enjoyed themselves. Well, Nawaki and Shisui were having fun, but the rest were sound asleep, so Jiraiya decided to take them home, after wishing Nawaki a happy birthday one more time. Shisui left a couple minutes later, and then he began to leave, but he caught sight of Tsunade pulling Nawaki towards the back. The party began to wane down, so Tsunade decided to give Nawaki her gift to him, now leading him onto a little balcony out back of the house. "Why do you want to give my present to me out here, Nichan?" Nawaki asked. "The reason I want to give it to you out here is because I want to know what your dream is first," Tsunade said. Nawaki thought about it for a second, quickly finding the answer, because he always wanted to become one since he was young. "My dream is to gain the respect of everyone, to become the greatest ever, so I can protect everyone in the village," Nawaki said. He smiled, knowing this is what he truly wanted, and he would go forth full tilt to accomplish this. Tsunade smiled as she slowly began to take off her grandmother's necklace, placing it around Nawaki's neck, gaining a shocked look from him. "Why are you giving me this, Nichan? I thought you would never give it away," Nawaki asked, twirling the jewel part of the necklace between two of his fingers. "It is to help you accomplish your goal. With that necklace you are sure to become," Tsunade replied as she leaned forward, giving him a quick kiss on the forehead, making him blush from embarrassment. "Nichan, someone may be watching," Nawaki pouting. Tsunade took a step back to give him some room as she stared at her brother in the dimming sunlight. "I'll make you and grandfather proud," Nawaki said, smiling. "I know you will," Tsunade replied, ruffling his hair. Unknown to them, Naruto was standing behind the door that led to the balcony, listening to every word that was spoken. "I will make sure you survive, Nawaki, no matter what. You deserve a second chance. You are an innocent who died in war, but this time you will live on," Naruto said. He slowly walked away from the door out of the apartment, being the last one in the house besides the two. He shut the door behind him as he walked into the streets away from the house, looking more determined than ever. "I didn't get much sleep last night since I was called out for a mission, but it doesn't bother me. I have been without sleep before." Naruto thought of sighing a bit. He looked around the forest where he and around 6 had fought 2 battalions of Iwa ninja. The place looked like a mess, blood dripping off the trees, as well as body parts scattered throughout the area. The morning sunlight made the scene even worse, signifying the blood in a hue-like glow. "I think that's the last of them," a random person to his left announced. 2 of them had gotten pretty injured during the fight. One had a broken arm, and the other had his chest punctured by a kunai, but all were alive. The Iwa ninja weren't so lucky though. "But let's head back. I need to do a couple things back in the village," Naruto said. Most of them looked relieved because the fight was over for now, and they were returning home. When they began to leave the forest, the area they once stood lit up, blowing a portion of the tree sky high. Naruto had gotten out of it with a couple burn marks, because he had let his guard down for a second. He looked at the other, noticing the 2 injured ones from before were dead along with another one, leaving only 3 others besides him left. He studied the burned bodies of the ninja who had fought alongside them. Damn it, if I didn't let my guard down, maybe all of us could have made it back safely, but I guess we won't be getting out of this easily, Naruto said. The others had heard him, but most were staring at the ruined forest where the explosion had taken place, seeing around 30 rock ninja emerge from the foliage. Crap, we are outnumbered in a random state beside him. He knew that if the 3 here fought they would die because of the sheer numbers of ninja before them, so he opted to fight alone. Get out of here, I will take care of them. Meet me at the town nearby, this will be over soon enough, Naruto shouted. They looked at him like he was crazy. They knew it was suicide by how many ninja there were. We can't just leave you, so we will fight together, another announced. They all readily agreed, but Naruto did not, because by the numbers he saw they would not make it out of this fight, because he could not protect them as he fought. He could, but it would leave himself wide open at times. Don't worry about me, just go, I got this handled, Naruto shouted at them. After a couple seconds of seeing the look Naruto was giving them, they ran the opposite direction away from the advancing squads of Iwa ninja. Finally, I didn't want to reveal many of my secrets yet, Naruto thought. The Iwa ninja looked smug. They believed they had this in the bag because only 1 ninja stayed. You should have gone home crying while you had the chance, but it looks like you are going to die here. Iwa ninja said, confidence oozed off him. Naruto smirked at the guy who acted cocky. Most likely the guy was the leader by how he was dressed, since no one else had the same clothes he had on. You must be the leader, but I have to say your scare tactics suck. The burning forest behind you scares me more than your ugly face does, Naruto said with a grin stretching across his face. The Iwa ninja was infuriated by how this guy acted, thinking that he could defeat them all on his own. The other Iwa ninjas around the leader all looked angry now, but they did not charge yet, which confused Naruto greatly until he realized something. They're trying to attack me from underground. There are about 10 ninjas advancing on my position, Naruto thought. He was pulsating chakra through his feet to help him detect them. Sage mode really comes in handy in situations like this, and since they were fighting on solid ground unlike during the Whirlpool invasion, they have a little more of an advantage here. He showed no signs of knowing that they were trying to attack him from underground, as he stared at the forces in front of him. He switched places with the clone he had made earlier, so that after they failed in their sneak attack, he would provide one of his own. Had they are so close, Naruto thought, looking out into the small field where his clone stood, irritating the Iwa ninja further than he had. All the Iwa ninja began running through hand signs. The ground shifted all around them as the ground lifted up like a river of mud as it rushed his clone. Is this the best you got? It's pathetic, the Naruto clone shouted as he went through hand signs himself. Doten. Rock encampment, Naruto shouted. The ground in front of him lifted up, blocking the incoming attack, but the Iwa ninja's attack would not be stopped by such a defense, because it was constantly moving. The wall in front started to crumble, but it gave Naruto just enough time to vanish out of sight, appearing directly behind the group of ninja, not knowing he had escaped. Looks like he was all talk, the leader of the group announced, chuckling. His chuckling ceased when a kunai was lodged in the back of his neck. He began gurgling before falling over lifeless in a pool of his own blood. What the hell, a random ninja shouted, looking at their down leader. They all quickly turned when they heard chuckling coming from behind. You guys need more training out of all you here, only he was A, meaning that you guys must be low level or lower. This will be easy, Naruto stated. He saw the Iwa ninja all began to smirk. He knew why too, because the ninja underground were now beneath him ready to take him out. So he provided his own smirk back, irritating the ninja even further. What the hell are you grinning about? Scum, Iwa ninja scowled. Naruto did not get the time to answer, however, as the 10 ninja emerged around him, all with a weapon piercing him from all angles. It's over, one of the ninjas said. Yeah, it sure is, what Naruto said as he began to glow white, making all the ninja in the area backpedal, realizing what was about to happen. The next second the clearing was rocketed by the intense explosion from the clone. All the 10 ninja that had stabbed him were all dead. By the look of it, you would not be able to tell who they were anymore. As for the other ninja, about 10 had second and even third degree burns up their skins. Around 10 were dead, while the last 10 looked perfectly fine, managing to get far enough back to not get hit by the explosion at all. The next moment though would be remembered for a long time as Naruto appeared from the tree line. In his outstretched hands was a black orb-sized ball of chakra, until he threw it into the center of the clearing. Not a second later he vanished a good distance away to control it from a better position. The Iwa ninja did not know what hit them, as the injured were instantly lifted off the ground with the rising rocks around them. The ninja who were uninjured provided some resistance until the ground cracked under their feet, crashing into their legs and arms, breaking them, as they were lifted up, getting dragged towards the black sphere. I guess I better finish this now because my team probably thinks I am dead by Naruto thought, as he increased the gravity around the small rock sphere that now floated in the clearing, crushing everything inside. Seconds later, sound of bones cracking echoed across the clearing. After he was sure they were dead, he released his hold on it, letting it fall to the ground, breaking into pieces. The grassy area was covered in blood, guts and dismembered body parts, almost making him throw up by how gruesome the place looked. I guess I am finished here, Naruto thought. He sensed two Iwa ninja quite a distance away, probably scouts of some sort, he assumed. He vanished from their sight in the clearing. Did you see what just happened? One of the scouts asked from his position behind a bush. The other scout could only nod as he was left dumbfounded by the scene in front of him. The scout went to say something again, but he couldn't because a katana protruded through his chest, stopping him. The scout next to him jumped back, scared to death. His partner slid off the offending blade. The same blonde-haired guy stood there with blood dripping off his sword. Naruto noticed how scared the guy was. He really did not want to kill a guy he did not want to fight. He had to though, since the guy saw all of his abilities. I'm sorry, you were in the wrong place at the wrong time, Naruto said. As he swung his blade down at the scout, not giving any time for the man to react, as the sword cut through his shoulder, hitting the next major artery as well, making a stream of blood flow out of the wound, leaving the guy stunned in disbelief. Naruto swept his blade on a cloth to get the darkened blood off his blade. He sheathed his blade as he began to walk away from the two dead scouts. Their bodies unmoving, but he never looked back, because this is what war was. Everyone is to blame only when you realize this peace can be attained. War is pointless. This unbound hatred that this world is saturated in much change, Naruto whispered. It was about 1 o'clock by the time Naruto saw the town he spoke of to the three who retreated. They must have spotted his chakra signature that he set out on purpose for them coming to him, since he did not want to search the town. They came up to him looking relieved, although a bit wary, not thinking it was him, because they thought he should have died in the encounter with the Iwa ninja. After 20 minutes of talking with him, they realized it was him, meaning he must have taken down the Iwa regiment. How did you defeat all those Iwa ninjas? They were jumping from branch to branch as they traveled back to the Leaf Village. That's my secret, so I'm not telling anyone, Naruto replied, smirking. They looked at him with a scowl because he really wanted to know what happened. They began to talk between each other, as Naruto was silent the rest of the way to the Leaf Village. His sight set straight ahead the whole way, many thoughts passing his mind. I hope my team hasn't set out on a mission yet, Naruto thought. He was worried because he knew this was around the time Nawaki had died. He wanted to make sure to protect them when the time came, but now he was sent out on a mission. He had caused quite a fuss when the mission was given to him, but he never actually stated the reason why he did not want to undertake the mission to begin with. Naruto, the village is coming up, he announced from his right, cutting him out of his thoughts. He nodded towards him, showing that he had heard. Once they reached the gates, Naruto did not wait for the other to follow him as he vanished out of sight, appearing in the Hokage's office right in front of the Sandame's desk. The reason for this is because he did not feel his students' chakra signatures anywhere in the village when they had approached the village. The Sandame looked up from his paperwork when Naruto appeared in his office. How did the mission go? Naruto, the Sandame asked. He slid his paperwork to the side as he asked the question, looking serious. It went well. We took out around 40 Iwa ninjas near the border. I sense more coming, but they will probably be coming in further up north than where we were. How many ninja are in the group you sense? The Sandame asked. He sent ninja out that way about 3 hours ago because he had gotten a report stating a town had been overrun by ninja. If I have to estimate, probably around 200. They weren't all together. I sense there were some distance apart, Naruto replied. He had used Sage Mode during the beginning of his fight, catching the other ninja in range. The Sandame went from calm to a look of worry passing over his face. If that's the case, then I need to send more ninja towards that direction, because the ninja I just sent 3 hours ago will not be enough to withstand that many, the Sandame said. Did you send my team to that position? Naruto asked. He hoped he had not sent them there since they were fresh genin just out of the academy not long ago, but he knew they probably were. They were the only ones in the village at the time, along with a couple, and along with Orochimaru as the leader of the mission, the Sandame announced. Naruto realized they were completely outnumbered from the advancing Iwa ninja. Then I am going. Since my team is in danger, it is my duty to save them, Naruto said as he was about to leave. Wait, you don't even know where you are going, the Sandame said. I can sense the Iwa ninja easily, so I will be able to find them easily, so you don't have to worry, but just in case, send back up and tell them to hurry, Naruto replied. Naruto puffed in a plume of smoke a moment later, indicating that he was a shadow clone, meaning he had already left probably about halfway through their talk. The Sandame began organizing a group to go help Naruto and the ninja already there. Tell Jiraiya to come here and hurry. We have a problem. Sandame shouted to those who lurked in the shadows of the room. A moment later and appeared out of the shadows, vanishing a moment later. I will not make it there until nightfall. I just hope Nawaki can hold out for that long, Naruto thought. His eyes shifted to a shade of yellow and purple, indicating he had activated Sage Mode. Once it was activated, he jumped into the tree line away from Konoha at a breakneck speed, knowing he had no time to waste. With Sage Mode activated, he knew exactly where the Iwa ninja were located, so he did not need to stop and think. If he took a closer look at his eyes, he would have noticed they were now a mix between purple and yellow, making them stand out even more than they did before. As Naruto continued his path, Team 5, Orochimaru and the rest of the band were at the town that had been attacked by Iwa, but the weird thing was that no Iwa ninja were inside anywhere near the village, so they had no problem entering. I wonder why Iwa attacked this place if they weren't going to use it as a base of sorts, Shisui said. He was walking alongside Kushina and Nawaki looking around the town for anything suspicious, but found nothing. There are no Iwa ninjas left in this place, so why do we have to keep searching, Kushina said. They had been at it for about an hour now, while Orochimaru was busy organizing something with the higher-up ninja they were with in a hotel room they rented out. The shops around them were all open, and the people walking the streets did not look scared. Everything looked perfectly fine. There wasn't even one single ninja besides the ones they came here with anywhere in the town. You're probably right, but we have to keep looking because we were ordered to unless you want to go give a report now, Nawaki asked. After another 20 minutes of looking around the normal-looking town, they decided to head back to the hotel room. When they entered the room, Orochimaru came up to them while the rest of the ninja in the room stayed put over a large map that was rolled out on the floor. Did you find anything within the town? Orochimaru asked. No, nothing to report. Everything looks to be relatively peaceful around here, like an attack never took place, Shisui said. Orochimaru looked at them for a couple seconds before nodding, letting them rest up for a bit, just in case any fighting ensued. Team 5 walked over to one of the bedrooms, entering the room, closing the door behind them. Finally, I needed a little break, especially since we ran from Konoha to here non-stop for 3 hours. Then we were made to search out a town for an hour, Kushina said, grumbling as she laid back on the futon. The three of them shared a room with a couple others, since they were probably not going to use it, since they would not be here very long. We will probably have to move out soon though. Nawaki started laying down as well. Shisui just sat up in a meditative pose to think about a couple things. I wonder what sensei is doing right now, Kushina thought as a blush appeared on her face. She did not know why she felt this way, it was completely new to her. She turned over, pushing her face into the pillow, trying to get the blush to go away, but couldn't. Nawaki spotted this, making a wide grin appear on his face. You know, if you like sensei, you should just tell him how you feel or just give him a big kiss right on the lips, Nawaki said, teasing Kushina. She lifted her head out of the pillow, glaring at him with a cold, pointed look, saying, do not mess with me. Shut up and go mess with someone else because I don't like Naruto sensei, Kushina said, growling. Nawaki gulped in fear, running out of the room, not wanting to get hit in the nuts again like before. Kushina quickly turned over on the futon facing the wall, staring at it until a voice called from behind. Kushina, what do you truly feel? I can tell you feel something for sensei, Shisui asked from his position against the wall. Shisui still had his eyes closed as he sat there in his meditative poise. I don't know, it's so confusing, Kushina replied. Well then don't worry about what Nawaki says. If you like him, oh well, if you don't, it doesn't matter. Just take the time to figure out what you are feeling before you do anything, Shisui explained. Kushina had listened to every word he had spoken, and she knew he was right. I guess, Kushina mumbled. What Shisui just told her did help, but she still felt lost about the range of emotions she felt towards Naruto-sensei, not knowing what to do about them. Her thoughts were cut off as Nawaki came back into the room with a serious expression plastered on his face. A couple of Iwa ninjas were spotted entering the forest nearby. Orochimaru thinks they know we are here, so we are going to attack soon, Nawaki said. Kushina and Shisui nodded while getting up while starting to get their gear ready for battle. They came ready with 2 sets of weapons just in case of a long battle were to happen. Let's go kick some Iwa ninja ass, Kushina shouted, pumping a fist in the air. They exited the room noticing no one was left in the hotel, so they quickly ran out of the hotel and out of town. Once out of town, they saw Orochimaru and the rest of the Konoha ninja near the forest on the outskirts of the town. We will enter the forest 3 ways. Each team will be composed of 4 genin, 10, and 8. One team will take this main path, while another takes the treetops. Also, the last team will come in at an angle from the left side, Orochimaru stated. He began organizing the teams, Nawaki being in a group with Orochimaru which would take the center path, while the group Kushina was in would take to the trees. Good luck, Nawaki, Kushina says. Nawaki nodded, as did Shisui a moment later, before the 3 of them split apart going into their separate groups headed by an elite. Proceed with the plan, Orochimaru said over the intercom. His team shot into the forest taking the main path with Nawaki somewhere in the middle of the group as they ran. The other 2 groups ran into the forest seconds later. After 5 minutes of running, there still were no signs of any Iwa ninja nearby. There's no one here, where are all of the Iwa ninja, Nawaki asked. Orochimaru was about to grace him with an answer, but before he could, Nawaki walked forward, cutting a see-through tripwire a couple feet in front of the group. Shit, a trap, Nawaki thought. Everyone but Nawaki jumped away as explosive tags lit up on all the trees in the surrounding area. He would not be able to escape in time. Just as the blast went off, Naruto dove forward, taking Nawaki to the ground, as an earth dome covered them when the initial blast hit. The whole clearing lit up in a blaze of glory, destroying the trees, and a couple ninja caught in the blast radius. Shisui had caught sight of Nawaki in the clearing right when the blast went off. He fell to his knees as tears began dripping out of his eyes. The thing was, it wasn't tears, but it was Mangekyou Sharingan taking root because he believed his good friend had just died. No, Naoki Shisi thought. Kushina wasn't faring no better. She was in a state of shock, as were a couple others. Naruto did not know any of this though, because all he felt was pain, as the rock dome fell 2 seconds later, sending him and Naoki into a nearby tree. Before they hit the tree, Naruto maneuvered his body so he would take the hit and not his student. Damn, that hurt, Naruto thought, coughing up some blood after pulling himself from against the tree. Placing Naoki on the ground next to him so he could get a breather. There's not much time for Naruto to think. Right when that thought crossed his mind, Iwa ninja began to swarm the forest. He caught sight of Orochimaru and the rest of the Konoha forces trying to fight them off. He wanted to continue to watch them fight to try and help if they needed it, but he couldn't as around 10 ninja landed in front of him. Looks like this one will be an easy kill, and Iwa ninja said, smirking. The rest agree about moving forward for the kill. You would think so since I am injured, but I am not incapable, Naruto said. He lifted his arms out, palms facing the ninja before him. They wouldn't know what hit them. Shino Tensei, Naruto said. The Iwa ninja did not know what happened as a force slammed into them, killing 8 of them, with the force alone sending them through a couple trees, before their lifeless bodies dropped to the ground. Summoning Orochimaru shouted as the forest was swarmed with snakes, latching on to any Iwa ninja found, killing them instantly. Some were able to fight them off, but they were killed moments later by Orochimaru himself. I think I might try to save Orochimaru from himself. I am still not sure how to go about it, the Naruto thought as he coughed up more blood. His vision started to fade. I can't pass out yet. There are still Iwa ninjas in the forest, so I have to protect my team, Naruto thought as he slowly tried to get up. Sensei Kushina shouted as she ran towards him, noticing that he saved Naoki, but got badly hurt himself. Hey Kushina, I'm glad you're okay, Naruto whispered before he passed out from his injuries. Kushina jumped forward, catching Naruto before he could hit the ground. Thank you for saving Naoki, Naruto Sensei Kushina whispered as she held him close for a moment before laying him next to Naoki. The rest of the battle ended pretty quickly because Jiraiya appeared with the backup ninja to take down the rest of the ninja forces stationed in the forest. The forest was quickly taken back from Iwa before their forces were completely obliterated. It was getting late, so they headed back to Konoha to give their report of the battle that transpired. The next morning, back in Konoha. Where am I? Naruto asked. He slowly opened his eyes, seeing a white ceiling, finally knowing where he was at, and he did not like it at all. Damn it, I am in the hospital. I hate the hospital, Naruto thought as he sat up. A groan came from his left side, making him look in confusion, but what he saw made him give a small smile, because Kushina sat in a chair by his bed with her head down on the bed itself. Naoki laid in a bed across from him with Shisui sitting next to his bed. He began to twirl a piece of Kushina's bangs that hangs down in her face. Naruto-sensei, what are you doing? Kushina asked as she lifted her head slowly with a noticeable blush on her face. She slowly began to rub her eyes as she waited for an answer. No reason, just thought you looked really cute, Naruto said, smirking as her face turned crimson just like her hair. He couldn't see her face for long as she turned her face away, embarrassed by what he said. Now this is even cuter, Naruto said as he ruffled her hair. Kushina began to grumble, pushing Naruto's hands away as she fixed her hair from his ministrations. You're an idiot, sensei, you could have died. You were so reckless, Kushina said, looking down. She knew if he did not do what he had done, Naoki would have died, but she felt horrible since he got hurt. It will take a lot more than this to kill me, so don't worry, Naruto replied confidently. After he said that, Kushina punched him hard in the arm as she yelled at him for being so careless before she ran out of the room with tears in her eyes. What just happened? Naruto thought as he looked at the room door, confused, not knowing what made her so upset until one Tsunade Senju appeared in the doorway. What did you do to Kushina? Tsunade growling. I don't know, as she was saying something about me being so reckless, but I dismissed it. She then punched me in the arm running out of the room, Naruto replied. Tsunade nodded, realizing Kushina had a little crush on her sensei. She walked forward, wrapping her arms around Naruto. What are you doing? Naruto asked. That was all he got the chance to say as Tsunade's lips connected with his in a deep kiss, leaving him bewildered, but returned it nonetheless. After a couple seconds, Tsunade pulled back away from him with a smile on her face. That's for risking your life to save Naoki, and when you get out of here I got something else for you as well, Tsunade said. Naruto's eyes widened at the implication as she checked his charts. She saw that he was rapidly improving, so he probably would be allowed out of the hospital tomorrow. You will be allowed out of the hospital tomorrow, so rest until then, Tsunade said as she walked to the door, swinging her hips, trying to get a reaction out of Naruto. He stared at Tsunade's butt until she walked out of the room, closing the door behind her. He laid back down, trying to get more sleep since he felt completely drained of energy. I don't think I will be able to sleep now with what Tsunade just did to me, Naruto thought, sighing. He wanted to know what Tsunade had in store for him so badly, but he also wanted to get out of the hospital to talk to Kushina. At least Naoki is alive. I'm glad I was able to make it in time, Naruto thought as he looked towards Naoki's bed before he drifted off to sleep a moment later. The morning sun leaked in through the window slightly, but not waking up Naruto from his soundless sleep that he needed really bad. You may leave the hospital now, all your injuries have healed, so you shall have no problems, but you should still take it easy for a day or so just in case, the nurse said. She was standing by the foot of his bed looking over his chart. I'll try, but no promises, Naruto replied with a smirk stretching across his face. He slowly sat up in a sitting position as he watched the nurse leave the room. Once she had left the room, he turned to the only other person in the room at the moment. Hey Nawaki, I will make sure to come and visit you later. I have a couple things I have to do, Naruto said. He pulled the covers off himself as he got off the bed, pulling on a black muscle shirt, along with styled pants. As he started to walk towards the door, it opened in front of him, revealing Shusui, who was probably there to visit him and Nawaki again. He had frequently visited the day before because they were a team after all, he had said. He had not seen Kushina at all besides that one time in the morning he had woken up. He was concerned because he might have said something that made her upset. Naruto was quickly broken out of his thoughts by Shusui, who had stepped closer calling his name. What's up, Shusui? Naruto asked as his eyes focused on him. Nawaki had sat up in his bed when Naruto had not responded to Shusui's question right away. I asked, how did you get to our position so easily? It is pretty far from the village to the out town we were stationed at. Naruto had thought about telling them about the Rinnegan for some time now, so now would be the perfect time, he supposed. He quickly walked to the door, locking it to make sure no one else would enter the room during his explanation, because he only wanted his team to know about this. He would make sure to tell Kushina about it, as well as what happened during his fight in Whirlpool. He turned back to making sure to activate a silent seal on the room, so that no one could hear the conversation through the door. Why did you lock the door? Sensei Nawaki asked. They both were wondering the same question, and soon they would get one. I don't want anyone else to hear or see what I am about to show you guys. That's why I locked the door, Naruto explained. Nawaki and Shusui nodded in understanding even though they were close. Just as they nodded in agreement, the he had placed on his eyes vanished, letting the purple-hued Rinnegan shine brightly in the room. He watched on, amused by the genin's reaction to his eyes. They both mostly had the same reaction of awe and surprise. Finally, after 2 minutes of the genin just staring, one decided to speak up. No way, that's the Rinnegan, we learned about it in the academy. It possesses the ability to use all elements, and the only person in history ever known to have it was the Rakuto Sennin. How do you have it? Sensei Shusui asked Giddy for an answer because right now Mits stood in front of him. Naruto smirked at the question, but mostly by the looks both genin gave him. The reason I have this was because the Rakuto Sennin saw the evil in this world was spreading from his place in death, so he decided to pass on the only thing that could make peace spring back up, instead of countless wars that would kill many pointlessly, Naruto explained. Most of it was true, he had received them when Nagato was dying, but he changed it around slightly, so he did not have to reveal that. You're right, Sensei, how can the dead give you something? Nawaki asked, laughing. He believed part of the story, but not all, because the dead were just that dead. I didn't question it, I just took it to change this world for the better. Like I did for Whirlpool and like I will do for countless others to come. The innocent shall be protected while the villains shall have no mercy, Naruto stated. He looked between Nawaki and Shusui to see their reactions. Why wouldn't you tell Kushina or any of us what happened during your fight to protect Whirlpool? Shusui asked. Naruto smirked at the question because he was asked that question by Kushina many times since she learned of his involvement. I will tell you guys once I let Kushina know, okay, Naruto replied as he turned to the door, releasing the silent seals in the room. He put it back over his eyes once he unlocked the room door. I'll see you around. Team training shall begin again in about 3 days to give you enough of a break to recover from the last mission, he told them as he glanced over his shoulder. He saw them nod in confirmation before he exited the room, closing the door behind him, leaving Nawaki and Shusui in the room to discuss what they had been told. We have to make sure to keep this secret for Sensei, Shusui said as he walked up to Nawaki's bed. Nawaki nodded at that, but he quickly laid back down from the pain that shot up his back. Oh, I hate hospitals, but I probably will have to stay here for another 2 days, damn it, Nawaki shouted. Shusui began to laugh lightly at his predicament. Nawaki began to grumble about stupid teammates, and about how he wanted to knock him out for laughing at him. Naruto did not see any of this, however, because he was in search of Kushina. He needed to talk to her about what happened in the hospital between him and her the day before, since she had not come back to the hospital since. Where could she be? Naruto thought. He had checked her house first, but she was not home, so he decided to check out a couple places their team had gone out to eat a few times, but still found nothing. The streets and the shops in the area were completely flooded with people. It would be almost impossible to search for her in some of these places, but then a thought came to his head. Kushina would not be here since she would get too frustrated with the civilians in the area, so maybe she is in the training ground training to get stronger, Naruto thought. He tried to walk down the street, but he realized it would take too long to reach the training ground due to the amount of people, so he decided to take to the rooftops, even though he was told not to strain himself that much. But well, it doesn't matter. I heal quickly. I thought of jumping to the next rooftop, heading to training ground 5, their usual training spot. Once he arrived, getting there pretty quickly without much trouble. He began to search the training ground. Out of the corner of his eye, he spotted Kushina hitting a training dummy as hard as she could, and by the look of it she was exhausted. Was she training here since the day before, Naruto thought. He hid behind a tree just out of sight from Kushina, watching as she trained. Kushina had multiple scratches and dirt marks all over her. By how bad it looked, the training dummy was probably winning. I have to get stronger to protect my teammates, Kushina thought as she struck the training dummy, again making her knuckles start to bleed. But she did not notice this, as she fell to her hands and knees, breathing heavily from the long training session she has gone through. I better stop her before she hurts herself anymore, he thought. But before he could step out from behind the tree, tears began to fall out of her eyes, stopping him in his tracks, observing what would happen next. I can't stop now. Naruto-sensei got hurt because I couldn't save Nawaki, Kushina whimpered out as she stood up, swaying a bit on her feet. It did not stop her, however, as she rushed forward to hit the training dummy again, but before she reached it, Naruto appeared in front of her, catching her fist in his hand. Her body collided with his, but he did not fall over. He wrapped his arms around her, shocking her, because she did not know what was going on. Kushina, stop this. You're going to get hurt. You need to go home and get some rest. He started releasing her. She had a light blush adorning her face. She tried to hide it, but that isn't what Naruto saw. Naruto walked forward, wiping away the tears out of her eyes, which only made the blush on her face bigger. She quickly pushed his hand away, taking a couple steps back. I don't care, I need to train. I don't want to see either of my teammates hurt again, especially you, sensei, Kushina shouted. The blush had vanished from her face, but the concern for him and her team could still be seen in her fierce eyes. He smirked, liking her attitude, but he still did not like that she was training herself to death. You still need sleep. Staying up all night to train is only going to hurt you in the long run, he stated. Kushina didn't care as she stood up to him defiantly. I don't care, in the end it's worth it, Kushina shouted back. Naruto realized there was no way she was going to listen to him since she was set on her decision. I guess I have no choice, then Naruto said as he appeared behind Kushina. She did not get the time to react as she was chopped in the back of the neck, knocking her out cold. He did not let her hit the ground, catching her in mid-fall. He carried her bridal style as he vanished from the area without a trace. He appeared in her apartment that she was given when she had arrived there from Whirlpool. He quickly walked to her bedroom, which was the closet room besides the living room, laying her in her bed, putting the blanket over top. I had no choice, but I hope she won't be mad at me for what I just did, Naruto thought. He sighed, knowing Kushina would definitely not let this go once she woke up. He left the room, closing the door behind him as he walked to her kitchen, which did not look that big. It had everything a kitchen would have, but the walking room was almost non-existent. She probably ate in the living room because of how messy it looked. I think I will clean the place up for her, Naruto thought. He formed a hand sign as 10 clones formed in the living room where he now stood. The clones quickly got to work on cleaning the apartment. It was done about an hour later, looking cleaner than it probably ever had been in a long time. He did not clean Kushina's bedroom since she was asleep, so it would probably stay messy since she would not clean it. I wonder what she has to eat, Naruto said. He went back in the kitchen, searching the cabinets, finding a couple things of ramen, but she also had rice and fruit. He quickly made food for Kushina, so she would have something to eat when she got up, since she didn't eat anything for a day most likely. Once done, he placed it on the living room table because it would be easy to spot when she got up. He vanished a moment later without a trace, appearing in the main street of Konoha. I think I will go train for a while, then visit Nawaki in the hospital, Naruto thought as he headed back to training ground 5. Once he reached the training ground, he got to work on perfecting some of his new techniques he had come up with. His chakra control was close to perfect, so he did not need to really train that all that much, but he sent 10 clones to fight on the lake further in the training ground, just to keep up with his growing chakra supply anyway. I think I will train my taijutsu for today, since they are further behind than my ninjutsu, and Naruto thought about unsheathing his katana from the holster. 400 clones appeared around him a moment later, all in the same stance he was in as they charged each other in an intricate dance of swords, leaving puffs of smoke in its wake every second. About 5 hours later, Naruto charged forward, plunging the last of his clones in the chest, having it go up in a plume of smoke as he fell back onto the ground exhausted. It took about 5 minutes until he had enough energy to lift himself off the ground. I think that's enough for today. I better go visit Nawaki like I had promised. My hunger can wait till after, Naruto thought. He sheathed the sword back into the holster on his back. He formed a hand sign dispelling the water-walking clones, which were doubled about half through his training session. Looking around the clearing before the sun caught his sight, making him look up towards the descending sun. It's about 6 o'clock, so I better hurry before visiting hours are over. Naruto thought of rushing out of the training grounds, heading for the hospital. It took around 15 minutes to reach the hospital. He walked in and down the hallway to reach Nawaki's room. Naruto, why are you still here? I thought my staff released you to go home already. Tsunade asked as she walked out of a side room, spotting him. "They did a while ago. I am just back to visit Nawaki," he replied. Tsunade nodded as she walked closer to him. "Well, if you're feeling better, is it okay if I give my gift to you tonight?" Tsunade asked. He looked at her in the eyes, noticing the light blush that was barely visible. "Sure, I guess. Are you working at the moment or are you off for the day?" Naruto asked. "No, I work till 8 o'clock tonight," Tsunade stated. She looked at him, wondering why he would want to know. "Then would you mind going out to eat with me at 9 o'clock, or are you busy once you get off work?" he asked. Tsunade's eyes went wide, not expecting something like that from him. She quickly composed herself as she thought about what he had asked. It would work well for what she had planned later that night for him, because she needed to pay him back for what he did for her little brother. If it wasn't for him, Nawaki would be dead right now. "Okay, but where are you going to take me out to eat?" Tsunade asked. Naruto gained a grin that stretched across his face. "Not telling, you will have to wait till later when I come to pick you up," he replied. She scowled because she really wanted to know, but didn't ask anymore, as she explained where her house was so she could be picked up. "See you later, Tsunade," Naruto said as he continued his trek down the hall to Nawaki's room, leaving Tsunade, who just stood there looking at his retreating form. "He is really cute, so I hope it isn't going to be too hard to give it away," Tsunade thought as her right hand went down to her womanhood. She gained a blush on her face from the thoughts about him. He had saved Nawaki, risking his life to do so. It was the least she could do to thank him for what he did. She was broken out of her thoughts when a nurse called her, needing her help to heal a couple ninja who returned from a battle in AIM. "See you later, Naruto," Tsunade thought as she got back to work. "Here it is. I can't believe I forgot the room I had been in." He opened the door and stepped inside, closing the door behind him, but what he saw was not Nawaki, but a naked 13-year-old Makoto standing in front of him as she changed clothes. Makoto looked at him, frozen in her spot as she was trying to strap her bra on. He deduced that her upai size right now was around a low C cup. He caught himself before he looked any further down, because the girl was only 13 by the looks of it. She grabbed the nearest thing to her, which just happened to be the tray of food one of the nurses must have brought for her, chucking it at him, but he quickly stepped to the side as it collided with the wall behind him. "I'm sorry, just to calm down, I was looking for a room with my genin in it, and this so happened to be the room I thought he was in." Naruto explained himself, facing the door with his back towards Makoto, giving her the time to get dressed. Makoto hurriedly grabbed her closest, throwing them on to not give the guy enough time to look at her again. When she was finished, a flustered look adorned her face. "I'm dressed now, you don't have to stare at the door anymore," Makoto stated. She watched as he turned back towards her. His face caught her attention right away because he was so attractive. Those thoughts quickly produced a blush that spread all over her face. So this is what Sasuke's mother looked like young. She looks pretty cute, Naruto thought. He did not realize he was staring until Makoto turned her head to the side shyly. "Sorry, I was lost in my thoughts," Naruto said, scratching the back of his head from embarrassment. Makoto quickly responded, not wanting the guy to feel bad because he seemed like a really nice person. "It's okay, but what about the room you were looking for?" "Maybe I could help," Makoto asked. The blush was still on her face, but it was slowly fading. "My genin's name is Nawaki and he was placed somewhere in this hallway, but I completely forgot where even though I had been in the room before," Naruto responded. Makoto giggled at how easily he had forgotten the room. "I can help them since I visited him just an hour ago, but I did not stay long because he and Shisui got into a heated discussion," Makoto said. Naruto sighed in relief because he finally would be able to find the room now. Makoto had other thoughts in her mind as she answered Naruto's question. "Why does he have to be so handsome?" Makoto thought as a blush slowly came back onto her face, making her lower her head slightly, trying not to look him in the eyes. "Maybe I can get more information on him from Kushina." Makoto. She was cut from her thoughts when he began to speak again. "Can you show me where the room is?" Naruto asked. Makoto had just been standing there for a little over a minute, so he decided just to ask her. "Sure I can, let's go," Makoto said as she grabbed his hand, dragging him further down the hall to Nawaki's room. The whole way to the room a blush adorned her face. Many of the nurses giggled as they watched Makoto drag him down the hall. "This is the room, so I'll see you later," Makoto said as she ran off. "I didn't even get to thank her. Oh well, I am probably bound to run into her later," Naruto thought, sighing. He turned towards the door once Makoto was out of sight, opening it. He hoped it was the right room when he stepped inside, closing the door behind him. "Hey sensei, you're here to visit me already? You were only just released 5 hours ago. Why would you want to come back so soon?" Nawaki asked. Naruto looked towards the bed. Nawaki sat up and noticing that Shisui must have gone home for the day. "I have to make sure you are getting better because you're on my team, even if that's returning to this hellhole," he replied. He did not like this place much, but if it's to see his student then he would not mind returning. "That makes me feel a little better, at least knowing that you care, even though you try to kill us during every training session," Nawaki said. "It's to make you guys ready for war and ruthless fighting. It's better to get things thrown at you in training than in a battle." Naruto starts trying to make his point across. Nawaki now knew too well that he was right because of what happened in that forest. He turned, looking him straight in the eyes. Upper training sensei, we need to get stronger fast if we are to be any help in the war. I want to save people and get the respect of Konoha's people, so that I can become Nawaki. He pumped his fist in the air to get his point across. Naruto smirked at how similar Nawaki and he had been because he had shouted relatively the same thing when he was younger. Fine, your training along with the rest of your team is going to get harder from here on out. Make sure to let the rest of the team know this. Nawaki nodded as a fierce look showed in his eyes. He knew the team would want this training, especially Kushina, since she had acted determined to improve, even if the cost was high. Sensei, I got another question though, Nawaki asked, confused. What is it? Naruto asked. Was that Mikoto's voice I heard behind the door before you had come in? Asked Nawaki. She had visited him about an hour ago, so he wondered why she had not come in again since she had come here. Oh, she was here to help me find my way to this room. I kind of forgot where the room was, Naruto replied. He watched as Nawaki fell on his back laughing his ass off. He could not believe his sensei had forgotten where the room was even though he had been in it. After a couple minutes Nawaki calmed down from his hysterical laughter sitting back up in the bed. That's funny, Sensei, Nawaki stated. Naruto started to grumble until a thought passed through his mind which made a grin stretch across his face, making Nawaki gulp. If you don't stop I will up your training so much you will go home every night with at least one broken bone, he said. Nawaki shut up about the incident real quick once those words left his mouth. He chuckled seeing the look of fear cross his face. I'm kidding, but I will come see you tomorrow. I sort of have a date tonight. I have to go prepare for dinner, Naruto said as he got up from the chair that was positioned by the side of Nawaki's bed. Bye sensei, Nawaki said. He watched as Naruto vanished without a trace. He laid back down to get some rest because his training would be harder once he got out of the hospital. Naruto appeared in his apartment quickly getting some money for a reservation at a restaurant he had in mind. 2.5 hours later he was walking towards Tsunede's house with a different style of clothes on. They weren't shinobi clothes, but they also weren't dress clothes, but they were stylish. He was wearing a black collared shirt with a pair of black tight cargo pants. The thing that stuck out about his outfit was the Magatama necklace that hung down in front of the high collared shirt. Once he found Tsunede's house, which was quite easily in fact, he began knocking on the door. After a moment of knocking he waited for Tsunade to answer the door. Tsunade shouted from somewhere inside the house. A moment later the door flung open, revealing a green-dressed Tsunade who had a blush on her face. Sorry it took so long, Tsunade said, closing the door. She wrapped her arm around his, making her blush intensify. It's okay, the reservation I set up for us at the Blazing Leaf restaurant starts in 10 minutes, so we have time to talk a bit if you want, Naruto said as they walked to the restaurant. Tsunade thought about what to talk about for a minute before a thought came to her. Tell me the details of the fight where you saved Nawaki, Tsunade asked. She looked at him hoping that she would get the whole story, since no one told her what happened. So Naruto began to explain what happened that night up to what he remembered anyway, which wasn't too much, but he explained what he went through to get there, leaving out certain parts to not give away too much. By the time his story had finished they were seated and were eating their food that they ordered. Why did you go through all that just for my brother, Tsunade asked. She just couldn't find the reason why someone would go through that much trouble to save someone. I did it because I wanted to. Innocent people don't deserve to die in war. It is just a pathetic use of pride that gets unleashed on the world, leaving everything in ruins, he explained. She looked at him intrigued as she took another bit from the food she ordered. Well, I got to thank you again for saving my brother. He means the world to me, Tsunade exclaimed. She leaned across the table giving him a deep kiss on the lips. Naruto did not return it at first, but being unable to resist it returned it a moment later. Tsunade got lost in the warm feeling of the kiss, engrossed by the hot feeling that rushed through her body when their lips had met. They pulled apart seconds later in need of breathing. The night went on as they discussed many things ranging from stories of their past and what places they have been. After they finished their meal, he walked Tsunade home. Once they reached her house Naruto began to walk away, but Tsunade stopped him when she grabbed his hand with hers. Naruto turned his head taking a glance back at her, seeing the blush that was splayed out on her face. Can you come in for a bit so that I can give you your gift for saving Nawaki, Tsunade said shyly. He was about to deny the request because he did not need a gift for saving anyone, but did not get the chance to deny her as he was dragged into her house, the door shutting behind him. I don't need a gift, Tsunade. I did what I felt was right, Naruto explained as he was pulled up the stairs to her bedroom. Tsunade pulled him quickly into the room before he could deny it anymore, because she was feeling really shy, and didn't know if she could go through with it if he kept it up. Once he was in the room the door clicked behind him, indicating the door was now shut. Naruto was about to deny any gift from her again, but was quickly silenced as Tsunade threw herself around him, wrapping her arms around his muscled neck, as her luscious lips connected with his, leaving him wide-eyed and confused, until he finally realized what this gift Tsunade was speaking of was. She pulled back from the kiss as she stared into his eyes. Tsunade, why are you doing this? Is it only to pay me back? Naruto asked. He was feeling very awkward at the moment, but he had gone with it though because his arms were now around Tsunade. That's the main reason, but I started to like you too when you first began to teach Nawaki, even though I acted angry around you. I actually really liked you. Even now my feelings for you are increasing every day. I know you don't like me, so please just give me this one night where I give you my first time," Tsunade replied. He saw the look in her eyes, so there was only one thing to do, and that was to accept it, because he couldn't deny anything in a position like this. He grabbed the blanket, pulling it over top of them to get some sleep. "This was one hell of a night. I got to sleep with a beautiful woman like Tsunade. My only concern is how mad Kushina will be tomorrow realizing that I had knocked her out," Naruto thought. He slowly drifted to sleep with Tsunade in his arms. "It's been about a month since I have seen Tsunade. I had avoided her for about a week after we had sex until she was sent to a battlefield somewhere in grass," Naruto thought as he grabbed Nawaki by his arm, flinging him into Shisui, who had tried sneaking up on him. They didn't react in time as Nawaki collided with him, sending them both to the ground. Naruto watched on, completely ignoring Kushina's incoming attack for the moment. Team 5 was in Training Ground 5 training. The training ground looked to be in a mess, from the blown over trees to the small craters here and there. For around a month he kept his team in tip-top shape, training them every time they were free and not out on missions. In the month they trained he guessed that they were now around level or awfully close anyway. He was broken out of his thoughts as Kushina's fist collided with his gut, making him grin. "So close, Kushina-chan," he said as he glowed white before exploding. Lucky for her, because she had been expecting it, got back out of range in time, but moments later was met with a fist to her face, sending her sailing across the clearing until caught by Shisui mid-flight, placing her back on her feet. All three of his genin improved greatly. He was very proud of them for how far they came in such little time, but he would never voice it too much, because too much praise is a bad thing. "You guys improved by quite a bit, but you still have a long way to go before you can land any hits on me," he said, smirking. The reactions on their faces were priceless, especially Nawaki and Kushina's, because they were pissed. They would not charge though, because they had done that before, and learned not to charge blindly into a fight without a plan. "I am going to beat you into the ground someday, you can count on it," Kushina shouted, pumping her fist into the air. Naruto was about to comment on her statement before he felt a chakra signature making him unsheath his katana, quickly turning around, slicing a clone of Kushina straight through the gut. He watched for a second as the clone went up in a plume of smoke, before turning back around to face his team, but all he noticed were 3 plumes of smoke where his team used to be. "They're definitely better than before, the change they went through is clearly visible," thought. He looked around the clearing, already knowing where they were hiding, but did not want to alert them to it yet, because he wanted to give them time to prepare something. "What should we do?" Shisui Nawaki asked. They were huddled up in a tree a good distance away from Naruto, to give them enough time to come up with a plan. Shisui did not answer right away, opting to look in the direction their sensei could still be felt in the clearing. Unknown to them, however, Naruto was leaning up against the tree they were currently perched in. "Let's see what they come up with." Naruto thought of looking up at his team from his position. 30 seconds later his team were still up in the tree planning, so he decided to make his move. He disappeared, reappearing in the middle of Team 5, kicking Kushina straight in the face, sending her flying, just as he swung his left fist, hitting Nawaki in the side of the face, as his right arm hit Shisui in the side of the head, sending each of them in multiple directions. "How looks like they didn't see that one coming," Naruto thought. His train of thoughts were cut off as the 3 genin of Team 5 lit white, indicating they were exploding clones, making a huge smirk appear on his face. "They're using the techniques I taught them wisely. I would never have guessed they got this down already. I only gave them this last week to learn," that Naruto thought of disappearing out of sight, just as the explosion rocketed the clearing he once stood on. He appeared a good distance away, perched on a high tree. "Now where are they?" he said to himself. Just as he finished his sentence, kunai shot at him from multiple directions, and when they were about 10 feet away they multiplied 20 times, leaving no way for any normal to escape. He was not know though, as a grin stretched his face as his arms rose up, palms facing opposite directions. "Shino Tensei," Naruto shouted as the kunai were deflected, sending them back in the directions they had come. When he sent them back, he threw in a couple of exploding tags as presents. "Shit," Kushina thought. The same thought was passing through the genin as the kunai were sent back at them. They tried jumping away before the kunai could reach, but they had been thrown their way twice as fast, so they sunshine away from their position, leaving a chakra signature in its wake, as more trees were blown back by an explosion. "Damn it, how are we going to land a good solid hit on him?" Kushina shouted, frustrated. She had found out about Naruto and Tsunade, just as the rest of the team had, but she was furious. She didn't know why, but she felt horrible when she found out about it. Nawaki and Shisui looked towards her as multiple emotions passed her face. They were currently huddled up in a thick part of the forest, but the thing was Kushina was the only real one, and the other 2 were clones. "Calm down, Kushina, we all know you have a crush on Sensei, and finding out that he had sex with my sister made you mad just as I had been. They're not dating, my sister told me straight up that he likes someone else, maybe it's you," Nawaki stated. Kushina blushed red with his statement, but it quickly went back to a scowl. I'm not going to forgive him that easily, I need to get him back first, Kushina shouted. Naoki and Shisui opted to shut up because they did not want to ensure the wrath of Kushina. I think we should trap sensei from all directions, then fire one each, that should at least do some damage, Shisui said. The rest of the team agreed only because nothing else could be thought of. The two clones vanished as Team 5 began to surround Naruto from all sides. I think I will just stand here to see what they have planned with the time I gave them thought. Kushina appeared on his right a good distance away going through hand signs, just as Naoki and Shisui appeared a good distance away in different set positions around him. Doten, Giant Boulder, Sutin, Jetstream, Fire Style. Phoenix Flower his Genin shouted as they launched there at him. He waited as the techniques got closer, he wanted to make them believe they had gotten him. Yes, we finally got him, Naoki thought. Kushina had the same thought going through her head while Shisui thought otherwise. Just as the attacks hit they began evaporating before their very eyes, as their most powerful attacks at the moment were gone in a flash, leaving no trace behind that there ever was an attack to begin with. No way, how the hell did you do that, Naoki shouted. They hit but it left no damage at all, which was almost impossible. I absorbed a chakra that you used to form, leaving the technique invalid, and not able to complete its task, Naruto said, smirking because of the smart answer he had replied with, trying to tick them off. It did the trick as a water dragon came at him from Kushina, but just as before the water technique vanished before their very eyes. Come on Kushina, is that the best you got? You guys should be able to hit me at least once by now, Naruto said. Kushina got pissed, forming another hand sign as the clearing was filled with around 20 clones. Shut up, I am going to kick your ass, she shouted, clearly angry. The clones charged as he dropped into a stance to fend them off, but before he could start to destroy them, they glowed white. Shit, that's a little overboard. There will be nothing left of the forest if I let them go off. Naruto thought, quickly going through hand signs himself, slamming them on the ground, forming a thick and dense rock dome around them, just as the explosion went off. The dome held for the most part until a couple seconds later when they began to chip away due to the intense explosion. After the explosion ended, the rock dome no longer stood, but damage to the forest was minimal. That was reckless, what the hell were you thinking, he shouted. He vanished out of sight as he appeared in front of Kushina with a ticked-off look on his face. If that explosion had gone off, her teammates most likely would not have made it out alive. He saw the sad look plastered on her face, understanding that she knew that she should not have done what she had. He calmed down a moment later, not wanting to yell more than he had already. Just don't do it again. If I wasn't here, your teammates would not have made it out alive, so be careful, Naruto said. Kushina nodded her head but did not respond straight out. He knew she wouldn't because she hadn't really spoken to him when the team had found out about him and Tsunade. I wish she would at least speak to me directly, Naruto thought, sighing. It was different without her usual shouts about his teasing, so he decided to try it out, but before he could, Kushina spoke up, which surprised him. Why did you and Tsunade sleep together? Kushina asked with a light blush adorning her face. She was pissed, but she also wanted a viable answer from him. It hurt her knowing that Naruto had been with someone in that way. It doesn't matter, me and her are not dating, so that doesn't matter. He responded, not really caring for how the words came out. Kushina's face turned from a light blush to a scowl in under a second. Kushina shouted. Inside her head she was questioning herself on why she just yelled at him, but couldn't find an answer. No, it doesn't, it was a one-time thing, so don't worry about it, he said. Kushina's right hand came at him, smacking him on the right cheek as tears began falling from her eyes. She vanished in a shunshin a moment later without speaking a word. His eyes widened, not expecting Kushina to cry or act like that. I guess I said something wrong, so I better go look for her, Naruto said. Right before he was going to leave, however, a bird began soaring above in circles, making him sigh at not being able to search for Kushina right now. He put his arm straight out as the bird landed on his arm. He retrieved the message that was in its claws as the bird flew away. So there's a meeting in 20 minutes, Naruto thought, staring at the piece of paper intertwined in his fingers. He was broken out of his thoughts as Naoki and Shisui landed next to him. I guess the team lunch I had planned won't be happening now because of two reasons. Kushina isn't here, and I have a meeting to go to, he said to them as he turned to face them. It's okay, I got to go anyway, sensei. My sister should be back by now. Naoki started vanishing in a shunshin. Shisui stayed, however, making him wonder for a moment why he was still there until an answer was given to him. My family is gathering together with close relatives, and they wanted to know if you could come so that they could meet you, Shisui asked. Sure, what time and what place, Naruto asked. He guessed most of the people there were going to be, so it was bound to be one heck of a night. It's set for 8 o'clock tonight at the main compound. Do you know where that is? Shisui asked. Yeah, I know where it is, so I will see you later. He vanished without a trace a moment later, heading towards the meeting room, hoping to not run into Tsunade on the way or during the meeting. Once he got to the meeting room, he noticed not many people were in the room, so he took a seat to the far left of the chairs and tables provided. People began entering the room as he and his advisors took their places on the big desk at the front of the room. He paid no heed to them, however, because his mind was on Kushina and how upset she had been. I have to make it up to her once I find her after this meeting, Naruto thought. The room was starting to fill up with some who were newly promoted, while others were veterans. Naruto was patted on his shoulder, breaking him out of his thoughts. He turned his head slightly, noticing that it was Jiraiya. You know, you were one lucky son of a bitch for what you did with Tsunade. Every man in the world would have wanted to be in your place at that moment, especially me, Jiraiya said, sitting down next to him. I guess, but it was only one time. I have another girl that I like, he replied. Jiraiya nodded in understanding, getting some of the details to what happened. So how was she in bed? Jiraiya asked. He always wanted to know what it would be like to sleep with Tsunade. Naruto was about to answer, but a fist to the back of Jiraiya's head sent his face straight down into the desk he sat at, leaving an imprint in the hardwood. Naruto looked wide-eyed as Tsunade lifted him up out of his chair, threatening him that if he spoke another word of the event she would throttle him, making him nod his head in fear as she placed him back in his seat. She turned and looked Naruto right in the eyes as she gained a light blush on her face. Hey Tsunade, how have you been? He asked her, breaking her out of her thoughts. I'm doing good, besides being tired from just getting back from a mission, now having to sit through a meeting on top of it. Good thing I have something to bring up in the meeting, so I hope you support it with me, Tsunade replied, smiling. Sure, whatever it is must be a good idea if you're so sure of it yourself, he said. Thanks, it will really help if I get more support, Tsunade said as she leaned forward, giving him a quick kiss on the lips. She knew they probably would never date, so she wanted at least one last kiss before she gave up. She walked away, missing the sexual comment by Jiraiya. The meeting began moments later as they began discussing issues pertaining to the academy, as well as the teams in general, so that they could build new teams pertaining to better quality. About an hour later, Naruto had his head down on the desk, starting to fall asleep from how boring the meeting was. Most of the issues presented were good, but had major holes. Are there any other issues that he would like to put out? Sarutobi III asked as his advisors were busy looking over forms for the other proposals, well, the ones that were accepted anyway. Naruto lifted his head to look around the room, until his eyes fell on Tsunade, who stood up out of her chair. Yes, I have a proposal for a way the teams could be set up to save more lives, Tsunade replied. Some ninja looked at her, interested in what she had to say. Naruto knew what she was going to propose, so he would make sure to get her point across to the people in the room. Okay, tell us your idea then, Tsunade Kaharu said. The advisors looked interested while they already was given a quick go-through from her before the meeting had begun. We should place a medic ninja on each genin team and build a school where genin could go to become medic ninja. It would help save lives while in Konoha as well as in the field when someone got hurt. Our shinobi force will lose less ninjas this way, Tsunade said in a matter-of-fact tone, making sure she sounded confident the whole time in her idea. Those around them agreed with the idea, but they thought that they could not afford a medic school, and having a medic on a team would lower the offensive abilities of a team. That sounds like a decent idea, but a medic school would cost too much of our budget, and we need that money for other things. Placing a medic on each genin team would help save lives, but where are we going to get that many field medics? Homura replied. The idea in itself was good, but the amount of time to create this would be too much. Money is the least of your worries. If we lose most of our shinobi to this war, we need more medics to save the lives of many. Tsunade. She was getting furious. The ups to her proposal were far greater than the downs to it. I'm sorry Tsunade, but we don't have the resources at the moment. Kaharu was cut off as a light blue-haired guy stood up from further back in the crowd in the room. It's a good idea. My sister died in this war. If her team had a medic in the field, she would have lived instead of bleeding to death, Dan said. The idea was good. This plan could possibly change all aspects of the team, saving many ninja who would have died otherwise. We are sorry for your loss, but at the moment we cannot put this plan in motion, Homura stated. Don't apologize to me and instead actually do something for the ninja in the field, besides sitting on your lazy asses all day. This plan could save hundreds, but you don't see that, you only see the amount of money you have to spend for it, Dan shouted. Tsunade turned her head looking at him with wide eyes, not expecting anyone to stand up for her like that. The money is needed for supplies and ninja equipment. These essentials are needed more than field medics, Kaharu shouted back, but was silenced a second later by a hand gesture by the Sandame, telling her to sit down, which she did. I believe this is a good idea as well, Naruto stated, having enough of the argument ensuing in front of him. He stood up behind the desk he was at. Tsunade and Dan looked in his direction. Well, the plan is not being put into action, so if you have a better idea we would hear that instead, Homura said. Too bad it's about the same plan. The plan will save many, so even if you don't put this plan into action, during my team's training tomorrow I am going to bring up medic to Kushina, and if she wants to learn it after finding out the benefits, then I will teach her, Naruto replied. This shocked everyone in the room, mostly the advisors. You need to train them to fight so that they could be ready for actual combat, especially Kushina, since she has the Kyuubi sealed in her, Kaharu shouted back. I am training them, but I am adding this to their training regimen starting tomorrow, he said, not backing down by the furious look sent his way by the two advisors. They just looked at him, curious by the development happening before him. Jiraiya smiled up at him from his position as he stood up alongside Naruto, shocking the room even more. I will teach my students medical as well, even if this is disapproved of because I can see the great benefits that are provided by this, Jiraiya stated. Soon everyone started to stand up announcing that they would do the same, so in the end they passed Tsunade's idea. They would start making the medic school in a week. They began discussing other issues as the time went by. It got dark out, but the meeting was still going on. About an hour later no more topics were presented, so the meeting started to come to a close. The meeting is over, the issues that were passed today will be set in place in 2 weeks or less. The Sandaime started as he got up with his advisors leaving the room. Most began to leave the room, Naruto being one of them, but he was quickly stopped by Tsunade who stood in his path. Thanks for helping me, they probably would never have passed my idea if you hadn't stuck up for it, Tsunade said smiling. You should thank Dan and Jiraiya as well, they helped start that little movement in the meeting. He replied. Jiraiya walked up at that moment, catching everything that was said. I don't need to be thanked, Jiraiya stated, but was quickly hugged by Tsunade anyway, enjoying every minute of it, though not displaying much of what he felt. She released the hug as Jiraiya left heading home for the night. Just as Naruto and Tsunade began to head their separate ways, Dan walked up to Tsunade introducing himself. Thanks Dan for your help in getting my plan set into action. Dan smiled at the show of gratitude as she hugged him. Don't worry about it, I did what I thought best, but I was wondering if you would like to get something to eat, Dan asked. She thought about it for a minute as she watched Naruto's retreating form. Sure, why not, I am in a good mood. She grabbed him by his hand and dragged him to the local bar for a drink and some food. Naruto smirked watching as Tsunade dragged Dan down the street. So it begins, I am going to have to save Dan when the time comes, but I will make sure he does not die. He thought it was vanishing out of sight. He was now going to Kushina's house because more than likely she was there. It was 7 o'clock, so he had an hour until he had to meet up with Shisui for dinner at the main compound. He appeared in the living room of Kushina's apartment. All the lights were off in the room along with the kitchen, but he had not checked her room yet, so he walked to her room door turning the knob, but found out it was locked. Kushina, are you there? Naruto asked. He got no response, but he did not give up as he knocked again on the door. Come on Kushina, open up if you're in there, I need to speak with you, Naruto said, hoping that she would answer. Go away, just leave me alone, Kushina said. He caught sadness by the sound of her voice, so he did the only thing that came to mind at the time. He kicked the door in, seeing the room just as dark as the rest of the house. Kushina shot up in a sitting position right when her door flung open revealing Naruto. What the hell are you doing? Kushina shouted. She looked pissed as she stood up out of bed, looking like she was about to kill him. He caught sight of the dried up tears on her face, as well as fresh tears around her eyes. He walked forward wrapping his arms around her waist as he pulled her into his chest. Her eyes widened, not expecting anything like this to happen. Let me go, Kushina shouted. If he looked down at her face at that moment he would have caught sight of more tears falling. No, not until you forgive me. The reason me and Tsunade did what we did was because she was in love with me while I was not. She did not care about deciding to just go through with it anyway, but I like someone else, which Tsunade had guessed, Naruto explained. Kushina was still a little sad and angry with him, but she felt better that he explained a little, but when Naruto said he liked someone else it caught her attention right away. Who do you like? Kushina asked as she looked up at him still in his embrace. He smirked at the innocent question, not really wanting to answer, so he decided to tease her. Not telling Kushina-chan, maybe I will tell you one day, he replied, getting hit on the chest lightly by Kushina. He lifted his right arm from around her to her hair as he intertwined his fingers in her hair, brushing it smoothly, gaining a dark red blush on her face. Your hair gets more beautiful every day, he whispered in her ear. He knew he was slowly falling for her as well, but he did not love her yet. After a minute of holding her he realized something. 2 mounts were pushing into his shirt, so he pulled back away from Kushina looking at her. She had red panties on along with a see-through nightgown that got him feeling very hot. Kushina just looked at him confused until she looked down at herself seeing what she was wearing, squealing out, making Naruto turn around as she got back into bed under the covers with another blush sporting her face. Naruto left a little while later after talking with her for a bit on a couple things. Kushina went to bed early feeling tired as crap from the emotions that had raged inside her. He quickly went to his apartment changing into his high-collared black shirt, along with the cargo pants and the Magatama necklace. He liked these clothes better than his ninja ones, so he was still deciding if he should wear these instead. When he reached the district, the guards had let him in with no trouble, due to being told that the head of the clan was expecting him for dinner. The district is much different now than in the future, Naruto thought. He was broken out of his thoughts as the main compound was coming up on his left. When he reached the place, stopping in front of the door as he began to knock. He waited for a couple seconds until the door finally began to open. Sorry to keep you waiting, but I was busy cooking. A dark-haired woman answered the door, allowing him entrance. He shut the door behind him as he looked at the women. Where's everyone else? He asked. Oh, they're out back sparring. If you would like you can go join them. My son Shisui is out there with Fugaku and Mikoto, the woman replied happily. Thanks, I think I will do that, but what is your name? Naruto asked. The name is Uchiha Seiya, and what is yours? Seiya asked curiously to the man before her. My name is Uzumaki Naruto, but don't tell anyone this just yet. No one knows my real name, he replied. He knew she might spread it, which he hoped she did to make rumors start popping up. He has a reason for this, but no one will know what it is. You're an Uzumaki, is that why you were placed on a team with Kushina? Seiya asked. No, the reason I was placed on her team was because I asked the Uzukage if I could teach her. The reason he let me teach her was because I saved the Whirlpool village from destruction. He doesn't even know I am an Uzumaki, Naruto said as he walked out the back door. He spotted a couple who were fighting. Shisui was fighting an older kid that looked like Sasuke's father, which it probably was. Shisui spotted him, stopping him in mid-swing as he walked over to him. Hey sensei, you're a little early, Shisui asked. Naruto nodded as he explained that he made up with Kushina and about the meeting that went on. Shisui was a good person to talk to, a level-headed, not stuck up, which made him happy to be his teacher. That's good sensei, dinner won't be for another 20 minutes though, Shisui stated. Naruto was about to reply until an older guy walked up alongside Shisui, placing a hand on his shoulder. So this is your sensei Shisui, the name is Uchiha Yorin. It's nice to meet you, Yorin said, shaking his hand. It's nice to meet you too, Naruto replied. Shisui has told me how good you are at fighting, so do you want to spar a bit before dinner is ready? Yorin asked. He wanted to fight this guy for some time now, since his son had been telling him the training they had gone through with this guy. Sure, why not? He quickly accepted the challenge. They both walked into a huge opening in the backyard, both getting into Taijutsu. Naruto noticed the guy had not activated his Sharingan, which made him not liking the guy already for only using his actual strength, and not just his eyes. Your dad is going to kick your sensei's ass, Shisui. He is one of the best ninjas of the clan, Fugaku stated confidently. He had the complex that was better already in his head from a young age, so there was no saving him. I don't know Fugaku. I bet he will surprise you, Shisui said as he watched the intricate design fighting, as the two collided headlong in the center of the field. Yorin ducked under a fist before quickly following it up, trying to sweep Naruto's legs from under him. Wow, he is amazing, Mikoto said. She had meant the fighting, but her mind was focused on Naruto's face, as a light blush adorned her face watching at how graceful Naruto fought. Yorin jumped back, getting nipped in the gut by a kick, before he started going through hand seals faster than most could see. Fire style. Kiryu and Yorin shouted as a dragon made of blazing fire shot forth at Naruto, who could not move out of the way. Yorin was about to help him out until his fire dragon evaporated, leaving nothing, not even a scorch mark behind. How did you do that? Yorin asked. He was shocked. One of the best fire techniques was blocked completely. It's a secret, ninja must have secrets, so I can't reveal anything, he replied. Yorin nodded in understanding as they got back to their spar. Yorin shot forward intending to punch Naruto in the face, but was met with a knee to the gut, doubling him over, before a foot collided with his face, sending him into a tree across the clearing, going up in a plume of smoke. Naruto ducked under a punch from Yorin, but was met with a kick to the back, sending him sliding across the ground. Yorin charged forward trying to follow it up, but Naruto glowed white, making Yorin's eyes widen as the clone in front of him exploded. He the second before the explosion hit him, but a newly formed crater was left in the clone's wake. Everyone in a 100-foot radius felt the ground shake. Holy shit, Fugaku shouted. Shisui began to boast that he got a way better sensei than he had, which was true. Mikoto was lost in her own feelings. She had a crush on Naruto before, now her feelings for him kept growing, because she now knew he could protect her from any harm if need be. I think that's good enough for now. If we don't stop, the house might be next. Yorin started laughing lightly at the amount of damage that had been done in such little time. Naruto nodded as he rose out of the ground a good distance away. They headed in for dinner. They discussed many things as they ate. Shisui sat to his right as Mikoto sat to his left. An hour passed, but they were still not done talking until a topic came up. Fugaku asked. Yep, but I am not telling anyone what it is, so don't ask, because it is something I want to stay hidden for now, he replied, getting nods from the adults understanding. Mikoto turned her head slightly to get a peek at his face like she had been all night, but she was caught by surprise as he turned his head facing her. Mikoto, Naruto asked. Do you have a girlfriend? Mikoto blurted out as a blush appeared on her face. The adults in the room chuckled at the obvious crush she had on Naruto. No, I don't think I do. Why? Naruto asked as he looked into her eyes. No reason, I was just wondering what Mikoto said as she turned her head shyly away. Naruto chuckled, thinking that she was very cute. After another 20 minutes of talking, everyone decided to call it a night, so Naruto walked towards the door, but before he left he called Mikoto over to him. Why did you call me Naruto-kun? Mikoto asked. Naruto's eyebrow raised at the suffix, but he ignored it as he leaned down, kissing her deeply on the lips, shocking her. He pulled back seconds later, seeing Mikoto was too shocked to speak, so he decided to enlighten her. You're really cute, but you are too young for me to date right now, so when you get older, how about it? He asked her. Mikoto nodded her head dumbly while sporting a blush. He vanished a moment later, leaving no trace behind. Mikoto touched her lips where she was kissed, feeling warm all over from what Naruto had done. That felt amazing. I wish I could be with him now, thinking of pouting because she really liked him. Naruto appeared outside his apartment as he stared up at the glorious moon that stood out above anything else. I am like the moon, I shine brightly, giving off a light for all to follow. The world will be cleansed of this hatred once and for all, he whispered up at the moon. He slowly walked into his apartment, throwing off all his clothes besides his boxers as he slipped into bed. I am falling for Kushina, but she is too young, so I have no choice but to wait. It's also the same with Mikoto, but I don't know about her yet. It doesn't matter though for the moment, as I have to come up with a plan to save Dan first. Naruto thought of drifting off to sleep a moment later. I have been at this camp for a couple months now, but no real action happened yet, Naruto thought. He was so bored, some of the unit went with him to a different sector to take control. They had to leave a strong person in this camp, which just so happened to be him. The camp they were stationed at was just outside a small village which still was intact, trying not to get the civilians involved. My team are all now and I didn't get to see them rank up, he thought, sighing as he laid back down on the bed that was provided in his tent. He trained them like crazy the 2 months before he was sent out. Worry still filled him that if he trained them good enough or not, but he just had to hope because his team did have the ability to become great. He had taught them multiple along with a few of his own that he created, but the most impressive thing he had taught them was tactics. They excelled in this field as a team and single. Some of them got restless leaving the camp for the small village, Yorin shouted. He had not seen them leave, but he was told by another. Damn it, what the hell are they thinking? We can't cause too much unrest with the people of that village. Naruto shouted, jumping straight up as he turned to face Yorin, who had just entered the tent. What should we do? Yorin asked. Naruto was the commander since the left, leaving him in charge of a remaining unit of 300. It depends, how many do you know of that left the camp? Naruto asked, looking straight into his eyes. Around 10, maybe more, but I don't really know, that is an estimation, Yorin stated as he watched Naruto gather his katana as well as his other clothes, quickly changing into them while attaching the Magatama necklace. Then I will be back in a few, you're in charge until I return. The reason I am going alone is because if a large unit like us entered a small village, we probably would attract way too much attention for my liking. Naruto started, stopping next to Yorin for a second, before moving the flap out of the way, exiting the tent with Yorin close behind. You should take at least a couple ninjas with you just in case, going in alone is too risky, Yorin said. He knew Naruto was strong, but a sneak attack from another ninja was a whole different story, because any great ninja could fall from them if they were not careful. Don't worry about me, but make sure to keep this camp safe, because due to our ninja entering that village, there might be ninja who will attack this camp, Naruto said. He turned his head slightly towards Yorin to get his point across, which it did as Yorin nodded, not trying to stop him from going anymore. The camp was quite the sight. It was enormous with ninja everywhere from all different rankings. As he exited the camp, he turned slightly, looking back at the camp, seeing that the gate guards looked his way in worry. Don't worry too much, Yorin is in charge until I get back. I have to go bring back those before they start something. He started watching as the gate guards eased slightly, feeling more confident now than before. He vanished without a trace, moments later appearing just outside the village. The village looked peaceful for the moment, but he knew if he did not bring back soon, there would be problems. I have to hurry, he thought as he entered the village. He was too late though, as parts of the village exploded, catching parts of the village in burning red embers. The fighting had started. He watched his aim and miss ninja collided with a few ninja from his camp. This has gotten into a huge mess, Naruto thought as a kunai whizzed by his head. He saw 3 aim ninjas standing in front of him, and just by how they looked he knew they wanted to kill him. I am not here to fight, but if you attack, I will have no choice but to, he said. The 3 of them charged him, ignoring the warning, thinking that one guy was nothing they couldn't handle. They were wrong as Naruto appeared behind the first one, spearing him through the chest with his katana. The other 2 ninja watched horrified as their friend dropped dead in front of them in a pool of his own blood, before they too met a similar fate, as all 3 were now laid out on the ground, leaving them. Naruto sheathed his sword, not looking down at the bodies even once, as he continued his trek through the village, catching sight of brutal massacre of both ninja and civilians. He was getting pissed by what the ninja under his command had done. Blood dripped off the buildings, as the streets were filled with chaos and screams as fires danced everywhere, leaving no room for argument. The buildings would be no more after today. This place was as good as gone. This place is going to draw way too much attention to us. After I am done here we have to move the camp to a different location, Naruto thought. He grimaced as a dead aim ninja fell off the roof, coming up, leaving a spatter of blood on the street below. He continued to run until 2 aim ninja came out of the building where the one had fallen from dead. Scum, you attack civilians who can't even fight back, the 1 aim ninja shouted as he charged forward, intent to kill, but he never got the chance as he got chopped in the back of the neck by Naruto, falling onto the ground unconscious just like his partner moments later. The place was starting to burn quickly, as the fire spread to most of the untouched houses, leaving ashes in its wake. A away child's voice echoed the streets. Naruto's eyes widened as he picked up his pace, stopping in front of a house which just started to burn minutes ago, so he did not have much time. He rushed in without even a second thought, but what caught his sight when he entered was horrific. Before him laid the bodies of 2 civilians dead, but that is not what was bad, no, it was the bodies of 2 chunins from his camp laid out completely unrecognizable, leaving no trace of who they were. A little boy cowered against the wall further into the wall from what he had done. The kid's eyes landed on him fearfully as he got closer. "Please go away, leave me alone," the little kid said, looking him right in the eyes. The purple eyes of the Rinnegan flashed once in the eyes of the child, before flashing back to normal. "I'm not here to hurt you, I am sorry for what they have done. Do you want me to take you away from this place to become strong? I offer you this because you deserve it for what you had to just endure," he said, lowering himself to the kid's level, putting a hand on his shoulder. The kid's eyes lit up as he looked straight into Naruto's eyes, hopeful. "Will you really do that for me?" the little kid asked. Naruto smiled softly as he nodded his head. "Yes, I will, but I can't believe you had to endure this at such a young age," he said, sighing as he looked back at the 2 civilian bodies that were burning on the floor from the intense heat that licked them. "We better get out of here before we are caught in the fire," Naruto said. He quickly stood up, lifting the kid onto his back, making sure the kid would not fall off. "Can I know your name though, because I need something to call you?" he asked. He felt the kid fidget on his back for a second before calming down. "My name is Nagato," the kid stated. Naruto nodded in understanding, not wanting to know the surname, because the kid probably did not remember it, due to the loss of his parents, which caused trauma most likely. Just as he got out of the burning building, it collapsed in a heap just as the rest of the village kept burning. He was about to run towards the exit, but landed in front of him, making his eyes widen. "What the hell were you guys thinking? Is there anyone left alive besides yourself?" Naruto shouted as he grabbed the guy by the front of his vest, lifting him up in the air, very pissed off. "I don't know, we thought we could scout out the place, and if we found any ninja would kill them on the spot. I am the only one who survived, unless the 2 ninja from the building you came from survived the said fear. If they die, you are going to be punished to the highest mark once you return to the village. The civilians here are all dead, thanks to your little scout mission," Naruto growled out as he threw the guy into the wall, knocking him out. Just as he threw the guy, Yorin landed in front of him with a serious expression on his face. "Are you okay, Naruto?" he asked, looking around at all the burning buildings before his eyes fell on him. "I am fine, but I want you to take that back to the camp, then send a message to the village, because our camp is compromised now, so we will need to change positions. I will return to the camp once I go check up on the situation with the Sanin's camp, so you're in charge till then," Naruto said. "Yes, Naruto, but what is with the kid you have on your back? Do you want me to take him as a prisoner?" Yorin asked. He hoped the child was not a prisoner, which must have been seen on his face, since Naruto wasted no time in answering. "No, I am going to train him and help him to protect himself since he had killed his parents. Take that back to the camp and lock him up until we can return back to Konoha," Naruto said. Yorin nodded in understanding, hoisting the down onto his back, disappearing a moment later. "Don't worry, I won't let no one harm you," he said to the shivering boy on his back. After his declaration, Nagato calmed down to a reasonable level. So he vanished, leaving no trace behind, appearing just outside the village. Lucky for him too, because just as he appeared, the whole village behind them collapsed in a heap as the sturdy wood of the buildings burned, probably going to leave nothing but ashes. The village was one of many villages going to fall in this war, but some were going to be saved, he would make sure of it. He turned away from the burning heap of wood that once was a village. Out of sight again, his camp would not see him again for a while. He appeared at a smaller camp up north. It took around 2 days to reach, but the ninja here were more skilled. He trained Nagato along the way, unlocking his chakra network, along with teaching the kid a few chakra control exercises, before any would be taught to the kid. "We are here," Nagato, Naruto said, watching Nagato sigh in relief because his legs were tired, even though he had not run much, but for him it was a lot. As they walked the camp, Nagato stayed close to him, not trusting anyone in the camp besides Naruto. Most ninja turned in Naruto's direction as he passed, wondering what he was there for. The kid with him surprised them because they never saw him before. "Yojire, are you here?" Naruto shouted as he entered into the biggest tent in the camp, indicating the commander's tent. No one was there, which stopped him in his tracks as he searched the tent for any clues to where they had gone. "If you're looking for either Jirei or Tsunade, then they are not here. They headed out about an hour ago, getting a report of a massive attack on some Konoha ninja about 5 miles north of here," Seiya announced as she entered the tent. Naruto smiled as he turned in her direction. "Thanks for the information, but why did they go alone?" He asked her to walk a little closer to the women. "They went alone because a certain person was mentioned in the report. I think the person mentioned was Hanzo the salamander, but I am not sure. Jiraiya said that even if we went, we would not be able to stop him," Seiya replied, making Naruto smirk at the mention of Hanzo. "So they are about to be named," he thought. "Naruto, are you okay? You look a little out of it," Seiya asked. She was a little worried because he was just standing there not saying anything. "Oh sorry, I was just thinking about a couple of things, but if they went alone then I will go and be their backup. Wait here with Sei Nagato, she is a nice person, so don't be afraid of her." He vanished a moment later without a trace, leaving a mumbling Sei behind. "Damn that guy leaving me with a kid and going off to fight," Sei grumbled, but she was also worried for him, because if Hanzo was seriously there, then there was a good chance that more backup was needed. "Nagato, would you come with me while I gather a couple ninja for backup to follow after him, so he doesn't get hurt?" Sei asked, putting a hand on the child's shoulder. Nagato looked scared but nodded anyway, because he did not want Naruto to get hurt. "But let's go, we got to hurry," Sei said as she began calling ninja to the tent. "I am almost there." "I hope their battle isn't over yet," Naruto thought as he picked up the pace, quickly getting closer to the sound of a battle hitting its midpoint. Once he got close enough, he caught sight of Gamabunta's sword turning into liquid from an acid-like water ball from the giant lizard. He was on a cliffside watching the battle progress. Orochimaru was nowhere in sight, which surprised him, but knew he must be somewhere. Naruto turned his head looking to the right, trying to get any sight of Orochimaru, but found none. He caught sight of orange and blue-haired kids a good distance away from him. "So Konan and Yuhiko are here, I think I will go greet them," he thought, gaining a smirk on his face, vanishing from his position, appearing behind the two kids who were laying down watching the fight. Though before he could say anything, a giant snake erupted out of the ground, trying to wrap itself around the giant lizard which had Hanzo on top. The snake was not able to hold it for long as it was tossed aside, but it did not have to hold it for long, as a giant slug appeared above Hanzo and his lizard, before quickly forming into thousands of smaller versions, raining down onto them. They glowed green, starting to drain Hanzo, and his lizard of chakra, the lizard, released a bout of chakra, knocking the slugs away. Hanzo jumped off his lizard, landing on Gamabunta's head, running towards Jiraiya, who was unprepared for this action. He was met with a punch to the face, sending him down Gamabunta's back, but when a follow-up attack came, it was blocked by Jiraiya's left elbow. "We are going to win, Hanzo," Jiraiya shouted as he pushed Hanzo. He watched as all three of their summons went up in a huge plume of smoke, but the giant lizard had not, so Hanzo jumped back up onto his lizard, just as Tsunade and Orochimaru joined Jiraiya, all equally tired from the long drawn-out fight they had. "Wow, now this is an exciting fight," Naruto said. He wanted the two kids watching the fight to hear him, which they did because they quickly jumped up from their position, pulling out one kunai each. The whole area was a mess. There were ninjas' bodies littering the ground where the Sannin were fighting. "Who are you?" Konan asked, slightly scared because of the surge of chakra Naruto purposely released to scare them. "I am just a person trying to bring peace to this world. I am here to provide backup to the ninja down there if they need it," he replied. Yuhiko charged at him with the kunai out. Naruto caught his wrist, twisting the kunai out of the kid's hand, capturing both hands, not allowing for the kid to escape. "Let him go," Konan shouted as she ran forward as well. She was met with the same fate as Yuhiko due to a shadow clone who had snuck up on her. "I am not going to hurt you guys, I'm going to leave you guys alone, but if you want to be trained to fight and protect yourselves, then ask them for help," he stated as he pointed to the newly appointed. The two kids' eyes widened as he released them from his hold, watching Hanzo vanish, leaving them to walk back to their camp. "Oh, now, I have something I have to do," Naruto said. He watched as they hesitated for a second before a resolve burned in their eyes as they ran to meet them. "They were just like me when I was a kid," he said, chuckling softly before he turned serious, vanishing from his spot following the chakra signature Hanzo had left behind. Hanzo got a little ways away from the previous battling area before he stopped in his tracks a couple seconds, letting whoever was following him to catch up. "Looks like you knew I was coming," Naruto said, walking out of the tree line. The area around them was a dense woodland, but if they fought here, this area was good as gone. "I can tell just by how confident you are that you are strong," Hanzo replied calmly, turning to face the man. "You guessed right, I am strong, and what you have been doing to the people of Water Country must be stopped, and I am here to do it," Naruto said. Hanzo chuckled at the young man before him. "I think you are a little too confident thinking that you can defeat me, but I will humor you, I guess, but I am not holding back," Hanzo said as a serious expression appeared on his face, pulling out his poison blade, while Naruto drew his katana. "That's how I want it. If I defeat you only because you underestimated me, then it wouldn't be much of a fight," Naruto replied. They charged forth, collided headlong into each as their swords lit up with sparks, each trying to get past the other's defense. Naruto swung his sword diagonally, but was deflected to the right by Hanzo's guard, as a fist came within an inch of Naruto's face, before he vanished before Hanzo's eyes, appearing directly behind him, kicking him in the back, sending him flying, but it did not last long. As Hanzo went through hand signs in mid-air, landing on the final hand sign, smacking both hands into the ground. Summoning jutsu, Hanzo shouted as trees were uprooted and crushed by the enormous lizard that appeared with Hanzo on its head. Naruto had jumped back out of range just in time, landing on a high tree to get a better view of Hanzo. "Why have I been summoned again?" Gin asked. "Another strong opponent presented himself to me, so I need your help," Hanzo stated. The lizard's eyes fell on Naruto, making it chuckle slightly. It is only one man, how is he giving you that much trouble? Gain asked, thinking nothing of the man before it who stood on the highest point of a tree. He is stronger than what is seen, Hanzo said. The lizard nodded its head slightly before it filled its mouth with liquid before launching it at Naruto. The trees blew away by the intensity of the blast before hitting the area Naruto once stood. "See, told you it would be easy," Gain said. Hanzo thought otherwise, so he continued to look out for the man, but was too slow to react when a huge force smacked into the lizard, sending them toppling over onto the ground. The lizard slowly got up, but one of its legs was now injured, so it would not be as helpful now. "Where he is, I can't sense him anywhere," Hanzo shouted, looking in every direction, but was stopped cold when Naruto appeared on the lizard's head, punching him in the breathing mask he wore, breaking it into about 10 different pieces. Hanzo flew off the giant lizard, but before he hit the ground hard, he flipped in mid-air, landing as he slid on the ground from the massive hit. The lizard stood there astonished with what just happened, not sure of what to do now. Hanzo said, panting slightly. Naruto landed a good distance in front of him, not looking tired at all. "I am a god that will rain down your people's sorrow onto you, and show you the error of your ways," he replied. Hanzo began chuckling softly before turning into full-blown out laughter. After a couple seconds of laughing, he stopped cold in his tracks. "Don't be serious, you will die here today for making a fool out of me," Hanzo said darkly as he went through hand seals. Naruto did not get the chance to jump away as the ground in the whole area turned into liquid, but what was strange about this liquid was it had a purple tint to it. "What you see around you is my poison that I have created after long tests with my lizards. It is filled with chakra, meaning that it will follow the path that I guide it," Hanzo says. The purple liquid began to lift off the ground around them, surrounding them, leaving no room for Naruto to escape. Hanzo shouted as the poison wrapped around Naruto, starting to turn his skin a different color as it traveled to his mouth to kill him. A grin stretched across Naruto's face, surprising Hanzo because he believed this guy was trapped. "Shino Tensei," Naruto shouted as the liquid around and on him evaporated in a second, leaving nothing left, making Hanzo take a couple steps back in disbelief. "How did you do that?" Hanzo asked, trying to come up with another plan. Naruto began walking closer as his skin returned to a normal color. "It's a secret and one that you will never know since you will die today," he replied. The lizard behind him moved forward, launching its tail forward aiming to hit him. He quickly vanished out of sight, leaving a bewildered Hanzo behind, before his lizard was met with a high-powered hit, sending it smack down into the ground. "Earth style. Rock spears," Naruto shouted as spears shot up and through the lizard, impaling it from every direction. It went up in a giant plume of smoke a moment later. Before Naruto could move, a voice shouted. "Water style. Twin poison dragons," Hanzo shouted as he gathered water from a stream nearby. Two purple dragons formed, decimating the landscape, blowing away all the trees in the area, leaving nowhere to hide, as the dragons rushed Naruto. "There's no escape," Hanzo said, smiling. The smile quickly vanished and was replaced with a look of horror, as a katana tore through his chest, blood beginning to pool at his feet. The Naruto standing across from him went up in smoke when his dragons met it. "It is over, Hanzo, your reign of terror ends today," Naruto said as he pulled out his sword with a quick flick of his wrist, as blood gushed out of the wound. Hanzo would not give up, however, as he jumped 10 feet away, turning quickly, throwing a kunai which was quickly deflected. He fell to one knee watching as Naruto got closer and closer by the second. "Damn it, how are you so strong?" Hanzo asked. He coughed up blood on the cold, unforgiving ground a moment later. "It's because I have trained like crazy to make sure that I can change the hatred in this world that has escalated so much since the creation of the ninja world. You are part of this, which means your end is now," he replied, stopping 5 feet in front of the downed Hanzo. He was about to swing his sword to behead him, but had to jump back as around 200 kunai were launched in his direction. All the kunai impacted the ground, giving the aim ninja an opening to jump down, pulling Hanzo behind them in a protective manner. "We are not going to let you kill Hanzo-sama," an aim ninja shouted as they got into defensive stances around their leader. "I guess I have no choice then," Naruto said. The round his eyes faded, revealing the purpler eyes of the Rinnegan, making Hanzo's eyes whiten. "Aren't you fools? You're going to die if you stay here," Hanzo commanded angrily. The warning came too late, however, because right when he said the command, Naruto brought up his arms, palms facing towards him. "Shino Tensei," Naruto said. The force slammed into the aim ninja, leaving none standing, as around 15 ninja were launched off the feet, as sounds of bones getting crushed and cracking of trees echoed throughout the forest. When the attack ended, Hanzo was alone on his back, coughing up blood. His blood on the ground was unnoticed because the grass was no longer green, but a dark shade of red, due to the 15 dead ninja sprawled out in multiple directions, due to them trying to escape the blast. "Your time has come," Naruto said as he approached the downed form of Hanzo. "Heh, that is what you think," he replied. Naruto watched on as the body dissolved into water. He quickly turned around just as Hanzo appeared behind him. Naruto swung his sword out, beheading him before he knew what had hit him. Hanzo's body fell to the ground lifeless as his head rolled a few feet away, leaving a blood trail in its wake. "Just like I said, it is over." he whispered. He bent down, taking the sword Hanzo had used, sealing it up along with his head and some equipment he had found in his pockets. Just as he stood back up, rustling of footsteps began to get closer, indicating more ninja were approaching his position. So not even a second later vanished out of sight, leaving the dead AIM leader to his people who would see him dead. One AIM ninja saw Naruto before he had vanished, so he reported his findings to the group that arrived moments later, taking the body back to their camp. That was close. I don't want to kill people. I don't have to. Naruto thought of reappearing near the Sanin's camp. There was blood all over his clothes, but the smell is what got him set. I need to change into different clothes for now, these smell horrible. He did, ignoring the weird looks he got from the ninja of the camp as he walked to the main tent further in. What happened to him? A random whisper to another. Things like this were whispered as he passed because they did not know anything. He flipped up the flap of the main tent, catching sight of Tsunade and Orochimaru going over a map, so he walked in. They both turned in his direction when he got closer. Tsunade's eyes widened, seeing all the blood that soaked into Naruto's clothes. What happened to you? Are you hurt? Tsunade asked as she began to check him over. I'm fine, the blood isn't from me, it's from someone I just fought. He replied, getting her very curious to who he had fought, but he held back the information, not wanting no one to know until it spread from AIM itself. I better wash your clothes for you, they're a mess, Tsunade said as she pulled off his shirt. She gained a blush as his muscles flexed. Orochimaru left the tent seconds later, not wanting to be there anymore. I'm fine, I can wash them later, so you don't need Naruto to start backing away slightly. After a bit of arguing, she had gotten his clothes off. She threw his clothes in a basket, then turned back to a now naked Naruto, gaining a blush on her face. Naruto quickly pulled out a scroll, popping out a new set of clothes, putting them on before Tsunade could do anything. Tsunade pouted. Even though she knew Naruto did not like her, she still had enormous feelings for him. She felt sad that he didn't feel the same, though since she got to know Dan, her feelings for Naruto waned a tiny bit, but she knew they never would go away fully. I have to go to Tsunade, but I will make sure to talk to you later tonight, maybe for a drink or two, Naruto said, flipping the flap to the tent. You better, I just got back from a hard mission, and a couple drinks are really needed right now, Tsunade replied. Before Naruto could leave, she gripped him by the arm, kissing him deeply on the lips. I wish I could always be in his arms, but I guess I can't. She thought, pulling back from the kiss, flustered. I'm sorry Naruto-kun, I couldn't help myself, she said, flustered. It's okay Tsunade-chan, just don't make it a habit, Naruto said, chuckling. He had no feelings of love for her, she was only a really good friend, but it still felt good to get kissed by such a beauty. He left the tent with that in mind, leaving Tsunade to do her own things. His thoughts were cut off as he entered Seiya's tent, seeing Nagato asleep on her bed with her at the desk doing some paperwork. He sat on the spare bed that was on the other side of the tent. What kind of work are you up to? Naruto asked the woman, making her jump out of her seat. She had not seen or felt no chakra signature at all. She turned in his direction, punching him in the face for scaring her like that. Hey, that's not nice, Naruto shouted. He was now laid back on the bed with a slight bruise forming on his cheek. It's also not nice to sneak up on someone, Seiya replied back. She sat down on the bed next to him, turning her head slightly at him as he looked up at her. Well, maybe you need to be a better ninja, he replied back, chuckling. He got a light punch to his shoulder for the comment. That's not funny, Seiya said, pouting. Even if Seiya was 32, she was still very attractive, and her pouting like that Naruto couldn't help but get a boner. Seiya caught sight of the bulge in his pants, gaining a massive blush in response. Sorry, I can't help it since you are already very beautiful, the pout made you look even better, he replied honestly. Seiya smiled softly as she leaned forward, giving him a soft kiss on the lips for his compliment. Well then, thank you very much, Seiya said. She pulled back from the kiss seconds later. Naruto enjoyed the kiss while it lasted, even though he just kissed a married woman. She was hot, so he had decided just to enjoy it. That was amazing, he whispered. Seiya gained another blush, quickly getting up, walking back over to her desk to get back to work. Naruto grabbed her arm before she reached the desk, however. I shouldn't have said that, I'm sorry, he said, thinking he had said something wrong. It's okay, I just need to go back to work since most of these papers are due tomorrow, Seiya said. Naruto nodded, releasing her arm from his grip. She sat down, getting back to work for the night. He sighed, deciding to head out for a bit, so he walked towards the exit, lifting the flap up as he exited the tent. He missed the lustful look Seiya sent his way as he left the tent. I am so horny, I shouldn't have kissed him, Seiya thought, groaning. She kept up her pace on the paperwork, ignoring the urges as best as she could, so it helped that Naruto was not in the tent at the moment. I guess I will stay in this camp for a bit and figure out what I am going to do next, Naruto thought. His thoughts drifted to Mikoto for a bit before most of his thoughts became occupied with Kushina. He wished she was older because it was so hard to flirt with her that she was still kind of young. That is the same kind of situation that I also have with Mikoto. Two beautiful women, but they're both too young. He pushed the thoughts to the back of his head, concentrating on other things. I best go pick up Tsunade to go get the drink she wanted, he thought, heading towards the main tent. It was quickly turning dark as night approached. So he hurried his pace to her tent, wanting a drink himself pretty badly from the headache he got from fighting Hanzo. I think I am about to call it a night, Tsunade, Naruto said. It was getting quite late, around midnight to be exact, because the moonlight lit up the camp from his position at the bar, while he took a sip of the wine that was placed in front of him. Why? The night is still young, there are plenty of drinks to go around, Tsunade replied. She drank another shot just as she finished her sentence. Her face was flushed due to the alcohol she consumed that night. He had tried to get her to go home earlier, but nothing worked. He hoped she would be done soon, but that was quickly dashed. He turned his head slightly, looking at everyone in the makeshift bar. The only people left in the bar were the bartender and two of the ninja who looked worse for wear. The place had been packed, but now not so much. Most of the people had gone home around an hour ago. Naruto sighed, taking another sip before placing it back on the counter, not wanting to drink anymore. Come on and finish it, Naruto, you can't let good wine go to waste, Tsunade said. He just stared around the room, just nodding his head to her to let her know he had heard her. A couple seconds later a thud came from his left, so he turned his head to see what it was, and what he saw made him sigh. There with her head on the counter, when Tsunade was knocked out cold due to drinking too much. Come on. Now I have to carry her back to her tent, Naruto said. He knew complaining would not help him, so he slowly stood up, hoisting her up bridal style, leaving the bar quickly, because the two other people in the bar were eyeing her form up. The bartender didn't really care as he cleaned up the empty glasses left behind. He arrived at her tent moments later, flipping the flap up as he entered, placing her on the bed that was laid out for her. Before he could pull away, however, a hand shot out, grabbing his arm, stopping him cold in his tracks. Don't leave, Naruto-kun, you need a place to stay, don't you? So you can stay here if you want, Tsunade said. He turned his head slightly towards her, seeing her sitting up in the bed, but not by much because she was swaying, looking ready to fall over any minute. I can't stay here, you need your rest, Tsunade, he said, laying her back down on the bed fully. She pouted, trying to pull him down onto the bed with her, but he was stronger than she was, so she had no success. She kept trying for a couple minutes to pull him down. Lucky for him, she passed out seconds later. Finally, dealing with a drunk Tsunade is hard. It is especially hard when she teases. It makes you just want to rip her clothes off and fuck her like a rabbit, Naruto thought. Any man would be lucky to be able to have a girl like Tsunade. His thoughts were cut off as a ninja rushed into the tent yelling. Tsunade, there are 4 battalions of ninja here wanting permission to enter the camp, they exclaimed out of breath. Be quiet, she drank too much, so most likely she will be of no help because she's out like a light, Naruto replied, pointing to the knocked out woman. What? She is the only one that can authorize them to enter besides Orochimaru, but he isn't in the camp at the moment, he shouted once again. Naruto appeared in front of him, clasping a hand over the guy's mouth to stop his nonsensical rambling. I will authorize their entrance, so don't worry about it, just lead the way quietly, so I don't get my headache back. Naruto replied, gaining a nod from them as they exited the tent, heading towards the entrance to the campsite. It took around 5 minutes to get there, since Naruto took his little old time getting there, enjoying the night's fresh air that surrounded him. The moon looked amazing as it stuck out above anything else in the night sky, giving off a light for everyone to follow. I was able to get someone to allow them entrance, but it was neither Tsunade or Orochimaru who said that to the other guard who stood watch. He also caught sight of around 16 ninja a couple feet from the main camp. So he calmly walked towards them, greeting them kindly at the camp. Welcome, I am sorry that neither Orochimaru or Tsunade were able to greet you, but I am here to permit you guys entrance. Once you enter this guard right here will point you to where everything is, Naruto said, pointing to the guard that brought him here. The guard's eyes whitened before slumping a bit, realizing he had a long night in front of him now. The blue-haired man stepped up out of the ninja before him. Hey Naruto, it's been a while, I haven't seen you for a couple months now, Dan said. Naruto stepped forward, shaking the man's hand. It's good to see you, Dan, we got to hang out tomorrow if you and I are not busy, Naruto replied. Dan nodded, wanting to see what happened. He had heard a couple things had happened with Naruto's camp, so he would like to hear the story behind it. The ninja were ushered into the camp by the guard. The guy wanted to get this over with as quick as possible, since he had been on the job now for about 24 hours. Well, I guess I will go check on Nagato, he probably is sound asleep, but I have to make sure since I am the one that brought him here, Naruto thought as he walked back into the campsite, heading towards Sei's tent. He liked the night, it soothed him. He did not know why, but the night air mixed with the light from the moon made him feel so relaxed. His train of thoughts were pushed back as he approached Sei's tent. There was a small flicker of a light that illuminated the tent, but not by much, so he guessed that Sei must still be up. Why is she still up? He thought. He flipped up the flap of the tent, catching sight of a sleeping Nagato on the same futon he laid on before, but in a different position. He looked over towards the small desk in the corner, seeing that the small light came from there. I guess we got a little carried away, Naruto thought. He looked around the room, gathering all his clothes and putting them back on. He walked towards the exit to the tent, flipping the flap up. He turned his head slightly back, seeing the beautiful face of Sei come into his vision. This was one hell of a night, but I don't have time to rest or relax. I have to go train even though I am tired as hell, Naruto thought. He left a note behind telling Saya where she could find him in the morning if she wanted to. She might be mad at what happened, but she also might not be. Naruto sighed by all the thoughts that were passing through his head at the moment. At least I am getting some practice for when Kushina gets older, thought. He pushed those thoughts to the back of his mind for the moment since she was still too young, along with Mikoto. He hurried to a forest just outside of the camp to work on some of his new moves he came up with. I guess I will work on my first since I am not Alan, thought. Naruto began cutting up trees, releasing wind chakra from the blade to do more damage. About an hour later, the two aim ninja that were hiding in the bushes jumped out running towards him with kunai drawn. Naruto smirked at how stupid they were at charging at him as a potential threat. They must have been angry not being able to catch any of his techniques being used. He jumped over the first one, cutting through the neck, sending the head rolling, as the body fell in a shower of blood. The second one tried to run, but before he could, a sword went through his chest as he joined his teammate on the ground, leaving a giant pool of blood. What night I have sags, then I am attacked. I wonder what will happen next, he asked himself. Around 10 ninjas surrounded him right after he asked the question, making him sweat drop before he smirked, finally having the chance to try out a new one he wanted to try for a while now. He went through hand seals as the ninja around him began their attack, but they did not get the chance. Lighting style. Magnetic field, Naruto shouted. The ninjas stopped in their tracks as around 4 tons of force slammed into them, sending them pancaked into the ground, before the area lit up yellow, shocking all the downed ninja, leaving only smoldering ashes from the intense heat the lighting had created. It worked, but it would not work on strong opponents yet. They would react faster than these guys who did not expect it, Naruto thought as he continued his training for the night, ignoring the smell left behind from the bodies which still lay there. The smell was horrific, but he would deal with it because his training was more important. The end. Thanks for watching my video, and make sure to check out the author of this fanfic. Link is in the description. See you next time. Till then, sayonara.